Attention, due to the nature of the films discussed, the Civil Gore podcast may contain adult language and themes.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 87 of the Civil Gore podcast. I am your host, Tim.
And I am your host, Brian. I'm excited, Tim, because...
Brian, what's wrong?
Hello, Tim. This is Hedwig. I understand you're doing a podcast, etc.
Brian. Brian, you're Brian. You're not Hedwig, you're Brian.
I think Miss Patricia is coming to the light. Now, Timothy, please.
No,
please just calm down.
Who is this? Brian. Brian, you're not a woman. Brian, you're Brian.
Listen, I'm going to let Dennis into the light now.
No, bring Brian back. We need Brian.
You know, Tim, Brian's not coming back anytime soon. This is Dennis. I'm taking over the light.
I can't do the show on my own. Who's going to do all the stupid puns?
Well, you know, the beast is coming.
Brian, no, Brian, don't bring the beast. Please, don't bring the beast.
This is the beast.
No, Brian, don't bring the beast.
The beast is here.
No, bring Brian back, please. I can't have the beast.
Hey, Tim, what's up?
Hey, finally you're back, dude. You were freaking out there for a second.
I was?
Yeah, you were like doing crazy voices and stuff. It was really weird.
Oh, that is weird. What were the voices though?
It sounded like people from that movie Glass. Did you go see that this weekend?
I did, actually. That's right.
Oh
my God.
That explains things.
Yeah. It was actually really good, by the way. I obviously I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it yet. It's still fresh out there. I know you have not seen it yet, too. I will say, ignore what the critics are saying. If you liked Unbreakable, if you like Split, if you like M. Night Shyamalan, you will like this movie. I definitely think it leans more towards a similar vibe to Unbreakable than does Split, but overall, I still, so if you like one or the other, I guess that may sway your decision, but overall, Julie and I both enjoyed it, and I actually want to see it again. I really liked it, so.
Cool. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Unfortunately, I was going to try to see it this weekend, and my son got sick with the flu, so we had a stay-in weekend.
I hear that's going around, right? Didn't Kevin get it or something, right? Kevin and Amanda got it.
Really, really bad around here. Tons of kids out of school right now, so. And it's a strain that's not affected by the flu shot, so that didn't help them at all.
Of course. Because everyone gets the flu shot, and then the one strain comes and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so I'm actually trying to dodge it right now, too. I've had my flu shot, but I know this one is immune to it, so
Run,
see
Tim,
how
run.
it goes. I know.
Ugh.
Well, anyway, we have a really, really good show tonight.
Very packed.
Yeah, very packed show, and one of my favorite horror films that I just recently saw in the past couple years and watched it again tonight. I think this was your first time seeing it, right, Brian?
Yeah, and it's actually now become one of my favorites. And it's one of those ones that I've just always wanted to see, and it took a really long time to get around to it. But I'm glad I did, because now it's going to definitely be up there in my favorites. Yeah.
All right, so let's get right to it. This is our first chop. All right, Brian, so of course I'm continuing my 40 Years of Horror project, and I took your advice from last episode. I'm going to do kind of a roulette wheel and just pick a random year from that set of years. So I spun the old wheel and got 1990, and I stumbled across this movie I had never heard of before, but I had to see it because it stars none other than our two favorite Bills in the world, Bill Pullman and Bill Paxton.
Wow.
So this is 1990's Brain Dead, and the story behind this movie is that it was selected from a bunch of unfilmed Roger Corman scripts from the 60s.
Oh my God.
It was selected as the best of the batch, and so they decided to remake it and bring it up to quote-unquote modern times, at least modern from 1990 standards. And let me tell you, it's not a good movie, but Bill Paxton and Bill Pullman are wonderful in it. They make the best out of a bad situation.
Well, they always are. It's probably good they did make this movie, because it probably would have ended up being a Hellraiser sequel.
Yeah, you're probably right.
No one did it.
I got to get my bills right.
Oh, my God.
Bill Pullman plays a neuroscientist, like a brain surgeon, and he is called upon by Bill Paxton to delve into the mind of this corporate guy that has some kind of secret that they either want to, and this corporate guy has gone crazy. And so they want to like either heal him and get him back to normal or make sure that he never reveals the secret or something. I can't remember the exact details about it. But it plays around like, actually feels just like an old Tales from the Crypt episode. I mean, it has the same vibe. It's got that same early 90s vibe to it. And it plays out like just an extended episode of Tales from the Crypt.
I'm surprised it wasn't better then, because that kind of sounds cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's really weird. But anyway, Bill Pullman ends up operating on this guy. And when he does, he kind of goes crazy. So he starts seeing all kinds of weird things. And there's lots of brain surgery imagery and stuff. It's a very, very strange movie. But if you're a Bill Paxton fan or a Bill Pullman fan, it may be worth checking out just for the novelty of it. Again, it's not a great movie per se, but it's interesting.
Well, yeah, it's probably got some merit just because of the Bills, you know?
Yeah, and Bill Paxton plays his typical, his early typical roles of being like the cocky, arrogant.
Like Chet?
Yeah, he's basically a Chet in this movie.
That's awesome. That already gets points.
Yeah, so.
Points for me on that one.
So, yeah, so 2 films down and a bunch more to go.
Right on, Tim. Moving along.
Moving along.
one year at a time.
Yeah. Next up, this was really cool, Brian. You discovered all the goodies coming up from the Trick or Treat 2019 catalog, and there's some awesome stuff in here.
Oh my God! Yeah, my wallet's already hurting, and because not that like I would, you know, it's not like I go around buying costumes as a collection, but there's props in this thing, and some costumes that you could probably use as props that make some of these things amazing. And I had to like list and now I listed like the ones that are like the big focus, and there's tons more you can go through. If you look, Bloody Disgusting, I think, tweeted it. David Howard Thornton tweeted. A lot of people have tweeted out the link to this catalog. You have to see it. But I'll go through some of the big highlights. So one of the big things is Halloween. There, you know, you always could get the myriad of Michael Myers masks and stuff, and some were better than others. Like there was that one, remember, that looked like Milhouse from The Simpsons?
Yeah.
That one. That one that was just like Tim and I were hysterical, but this is like some really good quality stuff. And so, but they have new costumes. They have a Laurie Strode costume.
I want to know, what is that? I don't even know what that means.
Oh yeah, so it's literally, it's like her ripped shirt and costume from the original Halloween.
Oh,
like
cool.
It's like that. So yeah, so you could like, if you can put on a blonde wig, Tim, you could go as Laurie Strode for Halloween.
Nice, and Olivia could go as Michael Myers. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because you and Olivia like to spice it up and reverse funny costumes and stuff. There you go, right there. That's a perfect. They have a clown Michael. You know, the clown thing with just the mask or the complete outfit.
Right.
It's got a Dr. Loomis costume, which I'm like, oh God, we got to dress Matt.
Is it just a trench coat?
It is, but I think it's like I can't tell if it's a trench coat and maybe the shirt with it, you know, how like, or those one piece funny. But I think we need to dress our buddy Matt from Yorkshire up in that outfit.
Oh, that would be perfect,
because he'd be great for that. You can get and it doesn't extend for the first movie, so it goes into Halloween 4 or 5, 6. They have a Jamie Lloyd clown costume.
That's cool.
They have the Halloween 4 mask and the Halloween 5 horrible mask that's like borderlining the Milhouse look there.
Yeah.
They have the Mark of the Thorn temporary tattoos for if you really want to relive that version of the universe, which we know does not exist anymore. They also have the Blumhouse Halloween version of the mask and costume, even a dead eye latex that you can put under the mask.
Oh my gosh,
if you want to make
cool.
it authentic.
Yeah.
So yeah. Plus, on top of that, they even have some great props, Tim, which you know, I know you like to decorate, and your dad likes to have his haunt. Yeah. They have a Michael Myers ghost costume prop that stands there to make it, you know, like remember that Michael Myers we saw? It's like that, but the ghost mask version.
That's cool.
They have a light up pumpkin. They have a Michael, a Judith Myers tombstone. They even have the Officer Francis head prop, you know, that one where in the new Blumhouse Halloween where he lights it up like a jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah, that's
the head.
Cool.
They have that, and they have a replica kitchen knife. I mean, that's just the new stuff. They also have a whole collection of stuff that existed already. The Halloween stuff alone, you could spend hours going through this catalog. So then there's also, you go into Chucky, there's the Good Guy doll, a box prop that was kind of like what they had at Halloween Horror Nights. Remember those boxes?
Yeah.
They have like versions of that, of the Good Guys doll box. They have a prop hammer. They have a prop little construction helmet. They have the Good Guys batteries, actually, that are sealed that make it look like a prop. And the cereal box.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, yeah, and then there's Dawn of the Dead mask. They have Evil Dead 2, which has a Necronomicon prop with pages that actually come out.
That's cool.
Yeah, and a Kandarian dagger. Return of the Living Dead has the zombie trash mask. With that, if people aren't familiar with that, that's the Linnea Quigley. She played the punk rocker with the red hair.
Yeah.
Well, when she turned into a zombie, it's that mask. They have the Purge mask, which is like Abe Lincoln, Uncle Sam, Lady Liberty, God, and Kiss Me, which was just a weird mask that said Kiss Me on it. I'm not sure what that one was. I don't remember that one. They have new Pennywise masks from the new It. They have Happy Death Day, where they have the mask, the killer version, and the mascot version, which I did not know was different until I saw them side by side. They're slightly different.
Oh,
so that's
cool.
how detailed they went to. Yeah, of course. Now the big one, that one of the ones that I want, but even though I would never do it justice. They have a full Art the Clown mask and Art the Clown costume, fully
cool.
complete. So you can be dress up as him, but if you're not David Howard Thornton,
no.
You're just not, you could walk around with it, but he is Art the Clown. So, and then the last couple things is a great Annabelle prop doll. There's Shining had a collection where they had a Jack Torrance costume already and stuff, but now they have a Roger the Dogman mask.
I still want to do, Jack and Wendy Torrance.
Yeah.
Olivia.
You guys got to do that.
That would be so cool. Cause I think it would be perfect.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to do.
Yeah, and perhaps the biggest, probably, Civil Gore addition to this year they have water zombie masks
from Creepshow.
So you could become water zombie. It's another costume for you and Olivia to go, because Julie and I just really have not gone to a Halloween party where we dressed up for anything. So that's why I'm kind of sticking this all on poor Tim and Olivia. But and then finally, there's some great holiday horror ornaments that are almost look like hanging busts of the characters. And there's Michael Myers, Leatherface, Sam from Trick or Treat, and Billy the Puppet from Saw. So
cool.
Yeah, this catalog, oh my god, my wallet, I literally felt the money flying out of it just because of some stuff that I want out of that. But yeah, so around Halloween we're gonna be in some trouble.
Yes, as if we're not already
right.
in trouble the rest of the year. So
right. I love. Oh, by the way, just a little side story. I love how we have a little group that we kind of a group chat. That we all do amongst our friends and coaster friends and stuff. And I love how one of our good buddies, Adam from Theme Park Families podcast, assumed that Tim was the one that had to cut back on the budget of movies.
Yeah.
Which he's like, no, that's Brian.
That's definitely not me.
Yeah. Tim has some side of self-control when it comes to Blu-rays.
Well, speaking of movies, there's a new IMDb streaming service, and it has horror, and it's called Free Dive. And I don't know much about this one, Brian. You posted this news, so why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, I didn't get to. I want to check it out to see if it's on my Fire Stick. It says Fire TV. I assume that's the same deal, but yeah. So supposedly IMDb came out with its own free streaming service now. That seems like a new thing now. A lot of places are just coming out with the free services.
Yeah.
Now, granted, you probably have to watch some ads in there, like kind of popcorn, that popcorn thing where you watch the same 30-second commercial for Savannah, Georgia 5 times throughout the movie. But it's still worth it for, listen, if you don't want to pay the $6.99 for Shudder or the whatever it is now, I guess Netflix went up. It's like $14 for Netflix, the Prime. They get expensive if you're adding all these streaming services. So it's nice to have some free ones. This one, it's only available in the U.S. now, and it's on, I guess, on IMDb.com and Fire TV. And it has some great horror titles already when it launched. So it's got like Nightbreed, Exorcist, The Beginning, Urban Legend, Night of the Creeps, Prom Night. So it's got some key, genres there supported in its initial launch, which is pretty good. So I'm gonna have to do some more investigating. Sorry, it was a busy weekend with playing this rundown. I swear to God, took between Tim and I probably like 10 hours of combined work with all this stuff, as you'll see as we move on with this. But yeah, so I didn't get a chance to physically check it out, so I will report back on that. I will check it out this week to see if Fire TV, Fire Sticks have it.
Yeah, I've heard of another one called Canopy, K-A-N-O-P-Y.
Oh, with the library card, right?
Yeah, that you have a library card, and it's mainly. It's mainly God.
Moldy.
It's Moodley. I'm the Crypt Keeper now. It's mainly in indie films, I believe, but a lot of people have been going over there since Filmstruck shut down.
Oh,
So,
I heard, yeah.
But yeah, I want to check that one out too and see if they have any horror on it.
Yeah, but indie, there could be some good indie horror.
Yeah.
We love our indie horror on here,
True.
so you never know what you can find on there.
Yeah. Next up, an episode of Shudder's Creepshow anthology, which is still surviving. We were disappointed with the Tales from the Crypt getting canceled, but it looks like Creepshow is still going strong. An episode of that is reported to be based on Stephen King's short story Survivors Type. I don't know if you've read that one, Brian. That's an infamous short story. Very infamous.
heard it's like terrifying, right? It's one of those most terrifying short stories.
Yeah, it's not for the weak of stomach, let's say.
Oh, okay.
So I'll be definitely interested to see this one on film if they manage to pull this off.
Well, it's Shudder, so and Joe Hill is part of this, so right? He's part of this.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So I'm sure that'll be great. Got some new Fright Rags t-shirts this week that focus on 80s slasher films like Chucky, Leatherface, Michael Myers, and also Ghostface from Scream.
I don't know how he snuck in there, but
yeah, I mean he kind of gets thrown in there as a horror icon, I guess.
Yeah, I mean
he's kind of like the B team.
Yeah, I guess they're like, well, we need something that's not 80s in here. So,
and tell me about this next one, Brian. This is an Abigail. Is it Brahman?
I think it's Brayman. Yeah, I found her on Twitter, and she had tweeted her latest. I guess she does a lot of horror art and stuff, and a couple of pop culture things too. And she came out with, I guess she just finished just in time for Valentine's Day. I guess she has she came up with 4 Valentine's cards, and these are right up our alley, I'm telling you. Because, I mean, she has a Leatherface one that says, "From the first moment I saw you." And then she has the thing where it says, "I got a thing for you." Michael Myers says, "My eyes are on you." And there's a Harry Warden one, which, of course, My Bloody Valentine.
Yeah.
You can't have that without that one. And it says, "Just be mine" on it. So, and it's really, really cool. So you got to look it out. She's got Prince of Terrifier on there, some Little Shop of Horrors. And I'm going to spell out her website here. So to get to it, it's Abigail Brayman Art, and that's ABIGAILBRAMANART which is STORENVY.com. So, and I shared it on our Twitter page. You can always go look back to see that. And she's just got some really cool stuff. And the cards are not bad. I think they're like $6. But for original piece of art and a horror-themed Valentine's card with such great iconic characters on it, that's worth it. So
Cool.
So I might have to send Julie one of those cards I'll give her one of those for Valentine's Day. I always get her a mushy one, but maybe I'll get her one of Leatherface,
Yeah.
Be appropriate this year.
My favorite Valentine thing about Valentine's is all the pun cards. So
Right, and look, that's one right in there. The moment I saw you.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
that's great.
That's like if we wrote it almost.
Next up, Halloween producer Ryan Turek said he would love to work on the next Friday the 13th film.
And you know what? I would love if he worked on it.
That's right. So LeBron, are you listening?
Yes, I know. Come on, you're out there. So
now there was some huge news that Entertainment Weekly broke, and me and Brian are fans of Entertainment Weekly.
Yes, I even sent this to Mike and EB over at Coaster Radio because they are huge fans of this too, and and especially EB flipped out. He was so excited at this.
So there is an official new Ghostbusters movie in the works that has no relation to the 2016 reboot. And this one is being directed by Jason Reitman, son of Ivan Reitman. So this one's going to be legit. I think the rumblings are that the original cast is involved in some way.
Yeah. Supposedly, Ernie Hudson went in and said it somewhere in an interview. He goes, "We're all coming back." I mean, obviously, sans Harold Ramis, who was who passed away, but the rest of the crew is rumored to be back. I would love, would I love if they could bring Annie Potts and Rick Moranis back.
Oh my
in there.
gosh, how awesome would that be?
Yeah.
That's gonna be a tough sell to get Rick Moranis back, but
well, he's starting to do little things again. I heard now these kids are grown up because that's why he kind of got out of the acting. But I heard he's starting to come back in little bits. So who knows? There's hope for anything. I mean, even if they get him as a little cameo,
yeah. And that this one, we should say that this has already been confirmed that this is going to take into account the first 2 movies. It's like a true sequel.
Yes.
It's like 30 or 40 years later or whatever it is. I don't know, 30 years at this point.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, it is like a true Ghostbusters 3. And you know, you saw the teaser, right? Of course.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, they had a little teaser even for it already, which just is the best way you could have teased that movie, I think.
Yeah, now I've heard the rumor of the plot is that it's going to focus on some teenagers. So you can get kind of a Stranger Things vibe there, that become the new Ghostbusters. Probably, I imagine one of the original cast at least is going to be back to kind of mentor them. I would imagine.
Yeah,
so
I would say, I'd pretty much say, because Dan Aykroyd kind of said something last year. Remember that they were working on something. So I would be stunned if he was not in it for sure.
Yeah. So,
and you know, you never know. You know, based on the way the teaser is, where it's sitting in a farmhouse. I think that's completely intentional. So I have a feeling it's going to be one of the main characters' old farmhouse. He's retired or something and he's got like, you know, he's got that, and you know, his Ecto-1 is sitting in his garage, and you know, it just, oh my God. I like, if you didn't get chills watching that teaser, it's like 20 seconds of like your childhood coming back for me. I don't know. It's like, oh, it's so great.
I told somebody that Ghostbusters teaser alone had more of that Ghostbusters feel than the entire 2016 reboot did.
It did. And I feel bad because, you know, there's so many obviously negative things going around with that reboot. I mean, it's fine if it exists in its own thing. It's just, like, you know, my only problem with it is why try and sell it as the Ghostbusters? Just make it something else, another name. I always said. I mean, the movie was. I mean, I enjoyed watching it. I wouldn't, you know, but it's not our Ghostbusters. That's the problem. And people think, you know, there's the people that say, oh, well, it's because women in it. No, that had nothing to do with it.
It's that they abandoned the entire idea of the original film, like they didn't exist, and that was kind of a slap in the face to me.
Right, and that's what the problem I had. I think all four of those actresses are some of my favorite actresses out there. I think they're all freaking hilarious, you know. And I like I said, I enjoyed the movie, and you know, but. You know, I just wish that, you know, what I wanted was what's coming, it sounds like, in 2020.
Yeah,
you know, you want that nostalgic feel. You don't want it replaced.
Right.
That's all. That's you know, that's what, you know, and I own the movie. It's in my collection, the 2016 version. I watched it when it was on HBO a lot. You know, so it's not like I'm trying to pretend it doesn't exist. It's just, I've separated it. I've come to my terms with it, you know? I put it on its own.
Yeah, this is the movie that Ghostbusters fans have been wanting for decades, literally. Yes. So,
and it's not fair that they should be criticized for wanting that by making them seem like they like just bashing the other one because of whatever reason, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
So
Brian, we got something weird in the mail.
Oh, yeah, you got that too, right?
Yeah.
We both got that.
So, anyway, Brian and I got this weird package in the mail. I mean, it might even had cobwebs on it. It was really strange. It looked like it had been sitting in a vault for centuries almost.
Yeah.
It was this
it is.
small wooden box. And on the front of it, I had to have somebody translate it because I didn't even understand the language and the script it was in. But apparently it's these scrolls that are supposed to foretell the future, I think.
That's because I peeked ahead at the first one, and that's what kind of looked like. It looks like it almost like, you know, like you ever see what's that movie with remember with about Nostradamus that used to be on HBO, The Man Who Saw Tomorrow with Orson Welles?
Yeah,
it was like that. It was like those what do they call them, quatrains, right? That's what it kind of seemed like.
And mine was even signed by at the bottom somebody named GHOSTRADAMUS. So
oh my God, mine too, actually.
So I mean, I'm wondering if we should just read these and see. Maybe they are prophecies for the coming year. I don't know.
You never know. I mean, listen, we rewarded, as some people may say, when we played that commercial that time without any kind of test. So why not? Let's just read this.
Okay.
I think we're pretty open with our listeners, right?
All right. Yeah, I think we'll just alternate these, and then we'll discuss what we think they might mean.
Right. And you know what? Didn't we do something like last year too, similar to that on our own? So we probably should go back to see if we were right about those. See who's better at it, you and me, or this Ghoststradamus character here.
Yeah. Well, do you want to do that first and see or do you want to do that?
Yeah. After? You know what? Yeah. No. Let's do ours first, and we'll tease we teased it now. You can hear the ones that whoever this person sent in. But we'll see how Tim and I did on our last year ones.
All right. So last year, Brian, you predicted 3 things, and I predicted 4.
Right.
And the first one up, I'm going to read yours and you read mine.
Okay.
So
sounds good.
and then that way we can judge each other with the full power of our criticism. So
Yes.
Brian's first one was that a new Friday the 13th film would be announced by summer of 2018, and I say he was dead wrong. But I will give you half credit because we did get some rumblings of the LeBron James thing, and there was lawsuit issues in there. So I'm going to give you half credit for maybe, like, it might be coming. Maybe we've heard some rumblings.
Yeah, I mean, granted, if you're gonna, I'm gonna be fair about this. If I were to, if you had to grade me like a black and white grade, like yes or no, I'd say I hit no because I said it was gonna be announced by the summer, and even the LeBron thing was more towards the fall anyway, where they said it,
right? And
he just said he'd like to make it, he would negotiate the rights. So I don't, but I definitely appreciate the half point, but because I see where you're going, but I'm okay. I would say more of a no than a yes on my first one. It was a miss.
I think you made up for it in this next one. So your second one was another major horror franchise from the 80s will have a resurgence in one form or another. And boy, did we ever. We're getting right? We're getting Critters, we're getting Chucky, we're getting the Creepshow TV series, Children of the Corn, Puppet Master. A new Puppet Master movie was launched last year. So I think you definitely hit the nail on the head with this one.
Yeah, it was probably an easier one to kind of gamble the way where things were going, but
yeah, but that's okay. And then the last one, I think you also hit the nail on the head. Another major Stephen King title will get a remake, not counting It Part 2 or Pet Sematary, which we already knew about at the time. And you were right. We're getting a new Firestarter, which was announced in June from Blumhouse, and also a new Tommy Knockers from James Wan. And I tell you what, I love Tommy Knockers. I love that book. I even like the miniseries to some extent.
I didn't read or see it, so I'm actually kind of excited for this.
Yeah, I was a big Tommy Knockers fan, even when the haters were hating. So
I wonder who they're going to get for Firestarter, though. Because, Drew Barrymore is tough to beat. Young Drew Barrymore. I'm wondering who they're going to get. I would have totally said, I know this kind of because she replayed Carrie, too, but I would have totally said Chloe Grace Moretz if this was a few years ago.
Right, but she's a little too old now, but that would have been perfect a few years ago.
Yeah, maybe that one. I don't know if you know who might be good. She was in a movie called Gifted that's been on cable, and then she also plays that other prodigy that kind of goes against young Sheldon's character.
Oh,
she's kind of like a blonde, little creepy girl, got a little creepy vibe to her. She might be good.
And there's also the girl that's in all the other James Wan movies, the Ouija 2, and she's in a lot of horror films. I don't know if that'd be just too. That might be too on the nose to cast her.
Yeah, well, especially if she's in a lot of other stuff. Yeah, so
I don't know, but yeah. Anyway, but all right. So let's see what I predicted last year.
Yes. Okay. So Tim's first one was he said, "Get Out will inspire a new wave of social horror. Jordan Peele announces next film project." Well, of course, Tim. Not only did he announce, he's right on the. We'll do the second part first. So he's definitely announced his next film project, which we know is coming out, called Us.
But it was a little late. Because he announced it recently, right? So it wasn't.
No, but we knew. Well, no, his trailer was announced, but we knew it was. I think it definitely came in before the end of the year.
Okay, good.
Because remember, Christmas Day was the trailer.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Released.
Right, yeah.
So you made it under the wire.
Just under the wire. Yeah.
Yeah, you just made it at the end there. Maybe some people knew about it a little before that, but and then so for social horror, I said because of Bird Box and. For those who didn't see any of it and want to be completely surprised, don't listen. But I said there was a kind of a, not the social message so much as was strong in Get Out, but you know how they tried to have this whole thing about how people, I kind of get the sense they were trying to show that the culture is just not aware of their, surroundings to somewhat, and they're focused on their phone or they're focused on screens.
Yeah.
And they're so maybe. I kind of gave you that one for that. I don't know how you feel about it, but that's why I kind of gave you that.
I take kind of half credit for this one because I don't think we saw the slate of announcements for social horror that I thought we would. But that may be just because we're behind the curve. I mean, we might get that this year instead. It may just been too early in the process because it takes time to write these and get them greenlit and that kind of thing. So I still think that's going to happen, but maybe I was jumping the gun just a tad.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I mean, but I that's why I got it. Yeah, I maybe a half point's fair because it was not definitely the strong social message that Get Out showed. And then again, also that whole technology kind of thing is been done many a time.
Right,
So,
yeah.
But we'll give you a half point.
All right,
I think
that sounds
for it.
good.
You deserve that. So then, this one's another one you kind of nailed, even though we kind of. There was existing stuff, but I think it's even more so now where Tim said TV anthologies will become hot again after successful reboot of The Twilight Zone. And of course, Creepshow is coming out. Blumhouse has that anthology on Hulu. The Terror is kind of, right? That's kind of an anthology? I think?
No, that's based on a Dan Simmons novel.
Not?
So that one's not an anthology.
So scratch that. That's my bad. And then, of course, the new Twilight Zone, which we knew. But so I think Tim got that one too and I think there's probably some other ones I'm forgetting. In all honesty, because between Shudder, Netflix, and Amazon Prime, there's a bunch of ones I like when I scroll through. Sometimes I see, and I'm like, oh. Of course, Black Mirror had Bandersnatch, that movie, which, the Choose Your Own Adventure movie, which counts as an anthology because the series itself is an anthology, and Channel Zero's going strong. So even though that's like a seasonal-based anthology, but still, I mean,
maybe.
I think I still think you get that one.
Yeah, I think I'm still a little early on that one. I think that one again will probably be more appropriate to 2019. Since we haven't actually seen the Twilight Zone reboot yet, but
True.
But yeah, I think it's coming.
Yeah, I still think we'll give you that one anyway.
Okay.
Well, you're a tough critic to yourself.
Yeah, I
Tim.
am.
You're not letting yourself go.
Well, I feel bad because I didn't really go out on a limb with these, so I hope our GHOSTRADAMUS goes a little bit farther out on a limb than these.
Yeah, I hope so. So then you said Return of the Slasher. It's a successful Halloween project combined with 90s nostalgia will produce a slew of new modern slasher flicks. Well, obviously, other than Hellfest, I don't know if that one hit fully yet.
I think the jury's still out on this one. Again, I think I'm just a man ahead of my time, I think, Brian.
Yeah, I think you should have waited a year.
I think I was making 2019 predictions in January of 2018. So I think we're still going to get that. Now, to me, Happy Death Day kind of fit what I was thinking of.
Oh, true.
So I think that remains to be seen. And again, Halloween just came out late last year, so it's going to take some time for the success of that project to inspire other projects. So again, I think this one has yet to play out. I'm not giving myself a point for that one, though. Not yet.
Well, and in fairness, if I think we both kind of got screwed on this one, if that lawsuit for Friday the 13th got settled faster, we probably would have had both of our picks in there. That would have hit. But and then your final one was, after the success of The Exorcist and Bates Motel, another recognizable horror franchise will get the small screen treatment. And I mean, technically Creepshow can count as that.
Yeah.
Child's Play, as we know, is getting a TV series. Critters is getting a TV series, and there's still those rumors that there's a Texas Chainsaw Massacre series in the works. So I think you definitely hit on that one.
Yeah, I think I hit pretty good on that one. Again, still a little early. These have not actually come out yet, but I think we're going to definitely see that. I think it's going to continue. So I'll give myself a point for that one.
Well, yeah, because just because it's not, I think as long as they announced it and have like concrete, but like, these things are in production, so it's not like they're just saying, "Oh, let's do it." No, they're in production, so that that counts. It takes a while to produce good content, and I'd rather have them take their time. So it's good.
All right, so let's turn our attention to these ancient scrolls that we uncovered. Now, Brian, I know you sent me pictures of all yours, and I sent you pictures of mine, so we know what these look like. So I think what we're going to do is just take turns reading them,
right,
and then we'll just figure out what it means. So, do you want to go first?
Sure. Okay. I'll go first. So I'm going to try and read this in a cool voice, though, to go with it, to get the feel of an ancient scroll.
Okay.
So, so this one says, "The justices will decide the fate of the mask. The dispute over Friday will be gone. As a date will be announced, and in the theaters will bask. Jason will return soon. Thanks, LeBron."
Wow, well, I think there's no question that's pointing to a Friday the 13th remake or reboot or whatever you want to call it, sequel.
Yeah.
Something.
I mean, I know they kind of piggybacked on mine from last year, but if you think about it, that lawsuit did come to a somewhat of a decision that they're kind of, I guess they're appealing a little bit and trying to finalize it. But it seems like, if you follow that guy, Larry Zerner, who played Shelley in part 3, he seems to think that it's going to get settled at some point. So
I'm just amazed that this ancient prophet knew who LeBron was. So that's
right.
cool.
Well, I mean, King James, he's pretty big.
Yeah.
I mean, he looms large, like in our current state. So maybe they could see him from afar.
I guess. All right. So I'll take the next one.
Okay.
Right, here we go. The Shape has returned to much acclaim and praise. So fans hope there'll be much more to come. Somewhere within the next 300 plus days, sequel news whence the House of the Blum.
Wow, they even know Blumhouse.
Really? Yeah. That's.
It's this Ghostradamus guy knows his stuff.
I'm just interpreting that as Blumhouse. I don't know that that's for real. I mean, you could read a lot into these prophecies. So
yeah, that's true. House of the Blum could be like some dude.
Yeah,
that's his last name. But
the Shape, I think, refers to Michael Myers. So
yeah, it must have to. I think so.
This has to be a sequel, Halloween 2 sequel, an official announcement. I'm thinking for 2019.
Yeah, I mean, like it said this guy was a little smarter this time. He didn't pin himself down to a season like I did last year for something. He kind of gave a big window of over 300 days. So, so good for this Ghostradamus. Yeah. He's a little bit smarter than I am apparently. So he widened his range.
All right. Well, what's the next one here?
Okay, so it says, "Old Chucky is returning to the theater screen, though he was never actually gone. Close to release, no excitement will be seen. Therefore, VOD instead, it'll be on."
Ooh, now this is a controversial one. So this one sounds like a Ghostradamus is predicting that the new Child's Play will go direct to video.
Right. I mean, I kind of myself was thinking that because, I mean, if you look anywhere where this stuff is posted on social media, everyone is, including Don Mancini, is like pretty much bashing this thing. So it's like, if you're a film studio that's going to release a big, and I think it's like the summer this is supposed to come out, so it's like prime movie season. If you see all this bad stuff and they have someone that monitors this stuff, and there's going to be some test screenings, and if those do bad, do you really think they're going to risk a theatrical release for something like this that they're investing money in, where they know they could probably get way more bang for their buck if they just send it straight to like a video on demand or a streaming service?
That's interesting. Well, maybe Ghostradamus knows his stuff.
He might, or he's just a secret guy that works for the production company. I don't know. We still don't know who he is. So,
all right. So here's the next one. He told us to get out, yet we wanted more. So we watched and refused to go. What surely will have a high fan cinema score. Us will also lead in horror box office dough.
That one's, I think, pretty self-explanatory. I mean, whoever wrote this kind of tried to mystify it with a lot of fancy words, but basically I think it came down to that since everyone liked Get Out, I take it, they think, this Ghostradamus thinks that Jordan Peele's Us is going to probably be the most moneymaker out of all the horror films released in 2019.
Okay, I can see that.
That's how I take that. And I would have to agree. If you ask me, and now this is kind of this could be a statement that's tough because you are getting you're getting It Chapter 2 mixed in there and a couple of other big horror films coming out.
It's not a given by any means.
It's not a given, but I do know that Jordan Peele's his Get Out did so good and everyone's waiting for his follow-up. And this already has gotten so much great buzz for the trailers for it. So he might be onto something, Ghostradamus.
Cool. All right. Well, let's see what the next one has in store.
Okay, let's see. The crazy madman known as Cage, with insane ramblings and face askew, will star upon another stage that wins him fame and fans anew. I like that one. That's very poetic.
They got to be talking about Nicolas Cage, I would imagine. So
what other? I mean, it's not Luke Cage. No. That show got canceled.
So he starred in Mandy, got very popular horror cred from that. So it sounds like maybe Ghostradamus is predicting he's going to start another horror vehicle that will really cement his place among horror fans, maybe.
Oh, I hope so, because if you have not seen Mandy yet, and I just ordered it and it like arrived today actually, because I realized I was like, this is terrible that I don't own this movie after watching it and loving it so much. Yeah, he obviously, I mean, basically he could be in anything, Nick Cage, and knock it out of the park. But he, I think something with horror for him is so special because he's got that like just maniacal look about him.
Yeah.
So
even when he's not
so
saying
well.
anything.
Yeah, like he doesn't say much like I think we've said more in this episode than he's already he said in the entire movie of Mandy.
Yeah.
But I think you might have something on that one. I think that's what he is. That's what it's saying.
Well, that's cool. Okay, well, let's hear the next one. All right. While his last remake failed to stun, the villain who on Elm Street creeps will return for yet another one to torment victims as they sleep.
Okay, so this is obviously, again, talking about the Friday the 13th movie, I would think. No.
Yeah, Jason on Elm Street.
Yeah, Jason on Elm Street.
So
we had that.
This sounds like Ghostradamus is predicting a Nightmare on Elm Street reboot, another one.
Yeah, well, I gotta say, it's funny. The other one was on the 2010 reboot was on last night, and Julie was like, "Did I see this? Looks familiar." And I said, "Yeah, you saw it when I suffered you through it when we did the summer's vacation." But yeah, and there are rumblings out there. People have been saying Robert Englund is hinting that he might have another round of Freddy in him after his little Goldberg stint. He must have got maybe it got him just that twinge of nostalgia that we needed him to get.
Yeah, maybe he's ready to
come back,
go out on a high note, just one last appearance. So.
And every time I say this, I feel like I have to say this just because I don't want him to ever think that the reboot was his fault. Still, Jack Earl Haley was phenomenal.
He was. He did the best out of a bad situation.
Yes, he was the best you could have done in that situation. So, Jack Earl Haley, if you're listening, and I know the odds of it are very slim, but still, just in case, we want to know. I always will say, whenever I say I want Robert Englund back, it has nothing to do with your performance. No. It's because Robert Englund is Freddy, of course.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Okay, what's up next?
Okay.
We got.
All right, so it says, this one's interesting. It says, streaming services cower in fear as one grand leader conquers all. My crystal ball oh God, I'm gonna. This one's gonna tongue twister. It says, "My crystal ball do seeth near, a Shudder competitor bound to fall." Ooh. So, well, it's no secret that Tim and I are big fans of Shudder, and we know that to us that's the top that you can get for horror streaming services, and we know there's others out there. So maybe Ghostradamus is kind of like on our bandwagon with Shudder.
Yeah, it sounds like he's predicting one of these other horror streaming services to close shop this year.
Yeah, well, I mean, like we saw, what was that one you just said? The Filmstruck or whatever?
Yeah.
And I know that's not horror, but that's a streaming service. And, the streaming services are only going to be in more trouble once Disney Plus comes out.
Right. It's becoming highly competitive, I mean.
Oh my God. It's like its own new thing now. I mean, you got the big boys, and then you have like some of the little ones that are niche, but obviously you got Hulu Prime and Netflix right now are the big ones, and you throw Shudder in there for our sake because of horror. But then, there's those little ones that are free, and there's those ones that you can, like, if you just look on your Fire Stick, there's all those like ones you never even heard of that are sitting on there. So
yeah, I don't know. We'll see. That's kind of a bold prediction, though.
Yeah, I mean, and technically, isn't there like a DC one like came out?
Or yeah, I'm subscribed to it actually.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, so that's gonna get the Swamp Thing TV series.
Yeah,
so
that's actually why I subscribed to it. Also, just to read Batman.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, but see, that one I think those will be okay because that offers more than just shows
right.
And
yeah,
movies.
You get comics.
It's got the comics. It's actually a great mix. It's got some really cool.
Yeah, I tell you what, the other DC Universe, the big perk for me is it has all of the not 100%, but a lot of the animated specials and movies.
Oh,
and those are really
that's
good.
Cool.
Yeah, so.
And those are hard to find sometimes.
They really are. Yeah.
Like, I mean, you can find them usually on Blu-ray and DVD, but, they don't always available in other formats.
Yeah.
Like other streaming places. So.
Yeah, I've been going through all of the Batman movies, from the Mask of the Phantasm.
Oh, I was going to say, they got to have that one, right?
All the way
gotta
up.
have that.
So, yeah, it's
classic.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right,
cool.
We got one more here from Ghostradamus. And it says, "The 90s held a wondrous show where Scooby Gang did valiantly fight. 'Tis time for yet another go. A Buffy reboot comes to light. Oh, now I really hope this one comes true because I am a huge Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan. Like, I love that series.
So now they're talking, because I think there was like a while back, everyone, but I think it was more of a wishful thinking. They right that where they were like a couple of years ago, they said, "Oh, it's time for a new Buffy," but I think that was like a story, right? It wasn't there was no concrete evidence
yeah,
here.
and I do know, and we'll talk about this when we do our comic preview, which is probably be another couple weeks from now.
Right.
We're doing a horror comic preview, but Buffy the Vampire Slayer just got a reboot this week, in fact. Now there was a very popular Buffy comic that actually continued the story from where the TV show left off. Like, it's officially canon. And they did seasons of that. It was put out by Dark Horse, and I read quite a few of those. They're really, really good. But the new Buffy comic is really like a complete reboot, and it brings Buffy up to modern times. It keeps like the same character likenesses, but some of the characters act completely different than they did back then. So it's more of like a true reimagining, and I'm just wondering if that comic's successful, maybe you get a TV show. Yeah, we got Sabrina and Riverdale, and all these are really hitting big now based off comics. So.
Right. And I think that's probably the best thing about what we have today that we probably maybe even take for granted is that, before the streaming services were doing original shows, you had your networks and then some cable companies. Now with the streaming services having their own, that's like another 4 to 6, like right off the top of my head, places that come out with original content.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Which is just like, so now nothing is off the table, really, if you think about it, because it's so much easier to just take the gamble on a streaming service because, you don't have to worry so much about advertising revenue coming in during the shows. So there's a lot less at stake, I think.
Right. Yeah. They can afford to take chances on some of this stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, we need to really realize how lucky we are, especially with horror, which has always been more of a niche thing to try and, more of a gamble in studios' eyes.
Yeah.
So.
Well, guys, we decided to do a 2019 preview, and we actually had so much content for it. We're actually going to have to split it over 3 episodes. So this episode, we're just going to do our looking forward to like the top 10 movies and shows that we're looking forward to in 2019. This is not a definitive list by any means.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And it's also not ranked. I mean, we
it's not. In fact, I think it's, if any kind of order it's in, it's almost in release order, I think.
Right, yeah. So
and the movie, the descriptions we have are based from IMDb, like Tim's favorite spot to get these things. But and I mean, I know like obviously, I mean, we're trying to get like straight horror here, like I know there's Godzilla, King of the Monsters, stuff like that. We didn't include those kind of things in it, just more of the strict horror kind of things.
Right.
So yeah, don't call us. Oh, how could you forget this in your top 10? It's like Tim said, it's not a definitive list. It's not really ranked. It's more just 10 big
things to look out for that you can look forward to in 2019 in the horror genre. So Brian, I guess we'll just kind of bat these back and forth. We'll kind of read.
Yeah. We'll just go back and forth. Our usual MO here.
All right. So the 2019 movies. Here's 10 in no particular order that we're looking forward to. First up, Velvet Buzzsaw. After a series of paintings by an unknown artist are discovered, a supernatural force enacts revenge on those who have allowed their greed to get in the way of art. If you guys have not seen the trailer for this, go check it out. It looks insane.
It is shit crazy, pardon my French.
Yes.
Well, we haven't used, considering we have the warning on there, and we
hardly
said
ever
like 3 curse words. Yeah, with curse words a year, but I had to use that term in this. Yeah, if describing this trailer.
This looks amazing. Go check out the trailer, Velvet Buzzsaw.
Yeah. The next one we have on the list is The Prodigy. It says, a mother concerned about her young son's disturbing behavior thinks something supernatural may be affecting him. And actually, I just saw the trailer again before Glass, and this thing looks pretty creepy. I kind of like the vibe of this movie. And like I did say, one of my goals is to see more movies in theater this year, and obviously specifically more horror films in the theater this year. Really support the genre we love so much. So this is one I'm going to try and go see in the theater. So it looked good enough, and like Julie had some interest in it too, based off the trailer. So it's a really good, well done trailer. So
cool. Next up is one I think we're all looking forward to. Happy Death Day to You.
Yeah.
the sequel to Happy Death Day, Tree Gelbman discovers that dying over and over was surprisingly easier than the dangers that lie ahead. Of course, a great trailer for this one. Do not watch it unless you've seen Happy Death Day, because it does have a major spoiler in it. But the trailer looks really awesome. It looks like a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait. I mean, I love Jessica Roth, who I saw someone else say that, like, one of the things that made Happy Death Day so good was that she bought in 100%. And Tim and I, we both said that on when you did our review of it. And when we had a featured episode, is that she was so good in the movie that made it so good. And she looks like she's even better in the sequel.
Yeah. And, movies are always better when the actor buys into it.
Right. Especially ones that have like a kind of a funny, hokey little premise to it.
Right.
Like the more they give in, the better it is. But I will want to say just a little side note on that. I'm sure people have heard. Obviously, I guess it was supposed to be released exactly on February 14th. But I guess it turned out that was the anniversary, of the Parkland shooting. So I guess one of the fathers or one of the parents asked Blumhouse if they could move the date, which they did. So they actually coming out a day early. So it's does not open on the exact day of it with, I guess a little bit of the name of that,
Yeah, I can see that.
I could see that. So bravo to Blumhouse for just not even like thinking twice and just doing it right away.
Yeah.
They're
Ordinarily
so
I would tell you just because it's a horror movie, that's silly. But with the
I think
actual
it's the
day,
title.
the title, yeah.
Right. It's called Happy Death Day to you.
Yeah, I can see how that could be
anniversary.
painful.
Yeah. So I mean, granted, it'll still be out on that day, but at least it's not promoting that day as the release.
Right.
So good. But my house is just I would sing their praises on like the full episode of if anyone would listen. They're such great guys, and so good for them. But anyway, so the next one up is Us or US, as Tim likes to say. It's,
I keep screwing that up. I don't know why.
Yeah. So, and this one I look like did it right. This one I actually wrote it as Us because I put the lower S by mistake in there. But anyway, it says a mother and father take their kids to their beach house, expecting to enjoy time with friends, but their serenity turns to tension and chaos when some visitors arrive uninvited. And another trailer. Man, Jordan Peele knows how to make a horror trailer.
Yeah, he does.
I gotta tell you, he captures the vibe of the movie he's doing without really giving much away. And oh my god, this trailer, I've seen it like a bunch of times online, and again it played before glass, so I got to see it on the big screen, which showed even more to me than I could see on a streaming an iPad. And oh my god, even the crowd kind of reacted to it. It just looked so good. And I got really giddy because that little theme park in the background is Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk.
Oh, cool.
Which I've been to many a times in California. It has that great haunted house that you need to get to, Tim.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I definitely want to get to that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
The next one up is probably the remake I've most looked forward to, other than Halloween, which is not really a remake. I guess Halloween was a true sequel. This is an actual remake. I can't think of a remake actually recently that I've wanted to see more than this. Pet Sematary.
Maybe It might have been the closest.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, sorry. I guess that probably would have been. You're right. Lewis Creed, his wife Rachel, and their two children, Gage and Ellie, move to a rural home where they are welcomed and enlightened about the eerie pet cemetery located near their home. After the tragedy of their cat being killed by a truck, Lewis resorts to burying it in the mysterious pet cemetery, which is definitely not as it seems, as it proves to the Creeds that sometimes dead is better.
Which Tim just said it way better than John Lithgow. Even though I love John Lithgow, I'm sorry, but
I think he was trying not to do an imitation. It was my feeling.
Yeah,
because I don't think he even tries to do a Maine accent in this one.
He doesn't. Yeah, no. Every line I've heard him utter through the different clips I've seen, he just seems like he's John Lithgow.
Yeah.
But which is fine. It's fine because you know what? He does need to make it his own. I mean, if he went on there.
Did you see, Brian, that they have the creepy sister in this one?
Yes, I saw that little extra, that little new TV spot. Oh my god! And it's like you only get to see a quick thing of it, but it looks scarier than the other one, which freaked me out.
And I'm usually not one for remakes for movies that I love. And I love the original Pet Sematary, but for some reason, this one just looks awesome. I think it's also because I saw how good a job they did with it, that I know this is going to be really, really cool.
Yeah, no, this one I am looking forward to. And like I said, remember, I watched the first one used to bother me just because of little Gage, and that always disturbed me, but this one looks like even super, super creepier than the other one, and kind of like, now that I kind of like him, I'm like a little more numb to the whole, I've seen the original enough times that it's not going to be, and it's, I guess I can get past that part now and see. The next one is this one's getting a lot of buzz, and this one kind of looks cool. The Curse of La Llorona, I guess. It says, ignoring the eerie warning of a troubled mother suspected of child endangerment, a social worker and her own small kids are soon drawn into a frightening supernatural realm. I guess this was an old folk story, right? Or folklore or something?
I don't know
La
much about
Llorona?
this one, but it sounds cool.
Yeah, no, it's supposed to be one of the ones to. I've seen on a lot of like horror movies to look forward to lists, so this will be interesting.
The next one up is kind of a superhero horror crossover. The New Mutants. 5 young mutants just discovering their abilities while held in a secret facility against their will fight to escape their past sins and save themselves. So.
Yeah, I put this on because they're actually marketing it as a horror film, a superhero horror film.
Yeah, I've seen the poster. Looks really creepy too.
Yeah, plus it's got Anya Taylor-Joy in it, one of our favorites.
Yeah,
so.
and there is this tendency. There's a Superman kind of themed horror movie coming out. I forgot the name of it, but
oh right, yeah. What was that? I saw the trailer for that.
So that's becoming kind of a running theme now to kind of mix the two.
Hey, you know what? I kind of like that. Let's blend the genres.
Sounds cool.
Hey,
yeah.
Food fusion works. Why can't genre fusion? Yeah. So the next one up, of course, is probably a lot of people's most anticipated. It's called It. Of course, It Chapter 2. 27 years later, the Losers Club have grown up and moved away until a devastating phone call brings them back. I mean, obviously we know this story from the original, but still, of course, the first part 1 was so good that I cannot wait for part 2. It's got a great cast of the adult Losers Clubs.
Yeah, perfect casting.
Oh my God! Bravo to the casting agent on that. So this one I'm really looking forward to again.
Next up is one I'm also really looking forward to. 3 from Hell. This is obviously the sequel to The Devil's Rejects, a new Rob Zombie film. And I'm a big Rob Zombie fan. I call myself an apologist at times because he gets a lot of criticism. And even though I wasn't a fan of his Halloween remakes, I love Devil's Rejects and House of a Thousand Corpses. I love those two films.
Me too.
31, I was a little lukewarm on, but I'm super excited to hear of a true sequel to those original 2 films. So definitely looking forward to 3 from Hell.
Right. Yeah, and again, I know we've beat this one to death already too, but Rob Zombie is a filmmaker. We're not knocking him as a filmmaker. It's just his take on Halloween. It wasn't what we were used to. I mean, especially the second one. He may have done a couple of unforgivable things in that one, but still, as a filmmaker, I will never take anything away from him because I think he's fantastic.
Yeah.
But and our final one on the list is definitely a horror comedy, Zombieland 2, which I cannot wait for, as I love the first Zombieland. And this is it's Columbus, Tallahassee, Wichita, and Little Rock move to the American heartland as they face off against evolved zombies, fellow survivors, and the growing pains of the snarky makeshift family. So this will, if you like the first Zombieland, I'm sure you're going to get exactly what you like in the first one, just on a grander scale of the second one, I think. So, but hey, there's nothing wrong with that because the cast is brilliant and I just love the first one so much. So I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully somehow there'll be one Twinkie left at least for Woody Harrelson.
All right, so let's go through our 10 TV shows we're looking forward to. Yeah, there's that many horror TV shows coming out that we could actually make a top 10 list. So. That's pretty cool.
And once again, there's probably a couple that we left out, maybe some returning series. And I'm not including Purge and Sabrina in this list because, they're just returning. Right. So that's not. But, of course, I'll start this off. The first is The Terror, which I thought was an anthology. My bad. Season 2 is starting there. It says in 1848, 2 real-life warships, HMS Terror and HMS Erebus, set on a Royal Naval expedition to find the treacherous Northwest Passage, become trapped in ice near Arctic and Oh my God, I wrote this horribly. I copied this horribly.
You sound like an IMDb synopsis guy.
Yeah, I know what poor Tim goes to. It says, become trapped in ice near Arctic and face starvation, mutiny, cannibalism, and a demonic polar bear. So, yeah. So that's I haven't seen the first season, but this now actually reading the second season synopsis, it kind of sounds cool.
Yeah, I've watched about half of the first season, but let me tell you, that book is one of my favorite books of the past few years. It's a phenomenal book. Like it's by
Maybe I'll just read the book.
Yeah, it's by Dan Simmons. It's really, really good if you want a really good read. And you like history. I like history, but it's history mixed with horror, which is really cool.
Oh, that's like a mixed cocktail to Tim's perfection there.
Next up is Swamp Thing. I'm really looking forward to this one because it's actually filmed where I live. So I get some of that local film flavor, and I get to support it through the Dini. God, I can't talk tonight. I'm not drinking, I promise. Yeah. DC Universe streaming app. It'll be exclusive to that streaming platform. Of course, based on the popular DC Comics character, I've actually been going back and reading the Swamp Thing comics because I wasn't real familiar with the character other than the old movie was based off of him, but the comics are really, really good. So I can't wait for this one.
Oh, cool. That should be fun. Okay, the next one we have is Carnival Row, which is on Amazon Prime. As a serial killer preys on mystical creatures in a dark futuristic city, a detective on the case becomes the prime suspect in the murders. That sounds like almost like a noir.
It really does. Yeah,
it's like a film noir kind of thing, but it's listed. It was listed under the horror thing, but I mean, still, I guess serial killer can throw it right into the horror genre pretty easily. So
yeah, and I love like the Prime originals and the Netflix originals because they can take chances that the cable ones can't really do. So you get kind of the really good horror, not the PG-13 horror type stuff.
Yeah, so that should be good.
Speaking of which, next up is The Passage, which is on Fox. Yeah. Now, I read the first book. I think it's a trilogy. I read the first book of this by Justin Cronin, I believe. And it's kind of like a post-apocalyptic vampire tale. Kind of like The Strain, I guess, would be the closest thing to it. Okay. And I actually did watch the pilot of this one, but let me run you through the synopsis. When a botched U.S. government experiment turns a group of death row inmates into highly infectious vampires, an orphan girl might be the only person able to stop the ensuing crisis. Like I said, Olivia and I watched the pilot the other day, and it was okay. It did not grab me as much as I may have liked, but I'm going to give it a few episodes just to make sure, because you can't always go by the first episode.
Right. It's hard to when you're trying to introduce people that may have read the book, but also trying to capture an audience that has no idea the book exists.
Right, and
so those are tricky opening, episodes. They're tricky. They're not like a drop in the bucket there. It's takes a little bit, to get going.
Yeah, and this is also Fox, so they can't go too crazy with the horror because it is a mainstream network. So I think that's
their news is horrible enough.
Yeah, so this kind of that's kind of tempers the horror a little bit. Although there were some real creepy scenes in the pilot. Don't get me wrong. There were a couple of things that I really liked about it. So I'm going to give it a chance.
Oh, cool. Well, this next one, I know it's kind of like a returning thing, but I think these deserve a stand because they're, it was like a big, like a year and a half skip, and it's kind of got each season has its own special line of plot to it in some way, like it's got a different theme, overarching theme, and that's of course Stranger Things season 3, which seems to be very mall based.
Yeah, very
based
mall
on
based.
some of the teasers. Yeah, so but of course that's going to be the probably the highlight of the summer in terms of horror TV because people make events out of it where they lock themselves in a room and binge the entire season straight. So, so actually that reminds me, because Julie has not seen season 2, so I need to catch her up on that.
Oh, wow, yeah, definitely.
Because I saw her, I forced her through 1 for the Halloween Horror Night, so now I have to get her to season 2 so we can watch season 3, because I can't wait on season 3.
I can't wait
going to
either.
Start that right away.
And
of course that's on Netflix in case you were living in a tomb somewhere. I don't
know. Next up from AMC, Nosferatu by Joe Hill. I read this book. It's phenomenal. Joe Hill has definitely climbed up the ranks of one of my favorite horror authors behind his dad, Stephen King. So this is a great book. I can't wait to see what they do with the television adaptation. The synopsis is: a young Victoria Vic McQueen discovers she has the power to unlock portals that help her find lost objects. As she delves further into this hidden universe, she encounters many other Inscape travelers, some benevolent and some who have been corrupted by their power. When Vic encounters Charlie Manx, an immortal who stays that way by feeding off of the souls of children, she makes a sworn enemy of Manx. So really imaginative, really cool.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Definitely, he's his own thing. He's definitely not a carbon copy of his dad. His novels are very much their own thing, but you still get that flavor, you still get that Stephen King vibe from him. So, really, really, really good book, and I'm sure the TV adaptation is going to be super cool.
The next one, I don't know. This is probably more Tim, because I don't know much about Lovecraft at all. But I know you're kind of into Lovecraft. It's called Lovecraft Country on HBO. And it just basically, the description is a young African-American travels across the U.S. in the 1950s in search of his missing father. So I don't know if this is based off of Lovecraft.
It's based off a book.
It is. There's a specific book. Okay,
yeah,
good.
And guys, you need to go read this book. It is incredible. I know I've been saying that a lot on this episode, but like every book I've said has been so good.
Yeah.
But Lovecraft Country literally is one of the best books I've read in the past few years. And it's basically Lovecraft. If you don't know, I'll give you the kind of background. I may have talked about this before on the show, but H.P. Lovecraft, who was kind of big in the 1920s, was unfortunately very racist. He held some peculiar views about race, and that's come to light over the years through his letters and stuff. So this book, Lovecraft Country, was kind of a way to rewrite Lovecraft's stories featuring African American protagonists. So it really is super cool. It's almost like an anthology in that it's various stories intertwining, and sometimes characters appear in different stories throughout the novel. And but they all feature prominent African American heroes, but in a Lovecraft setting and with Lovecraftian events. Super, super cool book. I actually kind of want to read it again. So I'm really looking forward to this. I think HBO will do a standout job with this.
Oh, cool. Yeah, well, HBO does phenomenal jobs in their series. Yeah. They're one of them that they out of all the cable companies, they're probably the one that takes the most risks on their shows. So yeah, that's probably, so like, how we were saying, like, the cable companies don't take risks on horror and stuff, but they probably would. Yeah. Okay. So
I know I sound like a broken record, Brian.
Yeah, Tim is about to tell us about the best book he's ever read.
I'm like 3 months. Gushing about all these. I'm so excited about them. This next one is based on a comic by Joe Hill, actually. Lock and Key. I haven't read this full series, but there's several really good graphic novels that collect the issues if you want to track these down. Great series. It's about 3 siblings who move into their ancestral estate after their father's gruesome murder and discover their new home's magical keys, which must be used in their stand against an evil creature who wants the keys and their powers. So another cool, really awesome horror comic. It's considered kind of a classic, even though it's not that old. If you go look at a list of best horror comics, you're going to find Lock and Key on there. So definitely looking forward to Netflix series on this. Sounds cool.
Yeah. It's funny, these last 2, even though we said we did none of these in order, these last 2, probably right after Stranger Things, are probably the 2 ones that I'm most excited for this year. But I'll do the first one, Tim will get the second. The first one we have here is Twilight Zone, of course, by Jordan Peele. And I am a massive, massive Twilight Zone fan. In fact, that was one of the, remember I was saying I wanted to come up with a project? One of my ideas was to literally, because I have the complete series of Twilight Zone, the originals, the 80s version set, and the Forrest Whitaker hosted version. So I have every single Twilight Zone episode pretty much in existence at my disposal. So I was thinking maybe I would just do a complete run through of a lot of them.
Yeah, I have been watching them in order, and I don't know how many episodes I have left, but I have been watching them because I think you can watch them on Hulu.
Yeah, Hulu has them, and I think Netflix has a couple of seasons. There was one season they skipped. There's like 3. Yeah. Season 3 they don't have, or something weird.
But thing. Yeah, they're awesome. But, I love Twilight Zone. I don't own them, but I love them.
Yeah, no, I had to own them, and and I actually love the 80s reboot of them too. There were some really good ones in there, and one, in fact, that still terrifies me today. But so I think that might be my project. I think I'm going to start running through all those, from the originals through the remake to the Forrest Whitaker ones, hopefully leading up to the Jordan Peele.
That would be a cool project. That'd be definitely a cool project.
I think that might be it. You might have just heard live decision making here on Civil Gore. But yeah, so I think that's it. And of course, it's an updated version of the classic TV series featuring various tales of science fiction, horror, and mystery. And I actually think I saw something where you could I don't know, it was like a contest to host it or something. I might have been
Oh.
getting confused with something else. But I don't know. I think I might have saw like some kind of thing where you can win a job to introduce an episode
Oh,
or
that
something.
sounds
I don't
cool.
know. That is, and I think Tim and I should do
Yeah.
it. We can.
Well, the next one up this is probably my most anticipated, even ahead of Stranger Things season 3, and that is the Creepshow series on Shudder. I cannot wait. I am such a huge Creepshow fan, and yes, I know it's essentially Tales from the Crypt, but there's something about the Creepshow brand, that original movie. I read the comic. They made that comic adaptation of it.
Oh
came
yeah, I
out.
still have that. Yeah,
I've still got a copy of that. I read that when I was younger. I remember a kid brought it to elementary school. He brought this comic and let me borrow it, of all things. And I was like freaking out because it was such a cool thing. I'd never seen a horror comic like that before. So yeah, I mean, I'm a huge Creepshow fan, and I cannot wait for this series on Shudder.
Yeah, this is good, and I mean between like Joe Hill, like we said, is a part of it. Stephen King, of course. And like I think was it Mick Garris is one of the main people behind it too, right? I mean, you have the people in place. I mean, I would be stunned if this wasn't a phenomenal series.
Yeah.
You know, I just, oh my god. I mean, Shudder is like that GHOSTRADAMUS dude predicted that Shudder's going to cause. I mean, between this now and Joe Bob Briggs being back, I mean, Shudder is unstoppable.
They're killing it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, let's get back to our regularly scheduled dismemberment.
Yeah. Sorry, we did warn you though. This was a big episode.
So
this was a Cody in every sense of the word. The episode.
So let's get right to it. These are Blu-ray releases for January 29th, 2019, our dismemberment.
Wait, no, please, God. No, don't cut off
All right, first up, this is definitely probably my pick of the week here. And I think yours too, Brian, possibly.
Yeah, I'm scanning through. I don't see anything that's going to come close.
This is Suspiria. Of course, this is the remake or reimagining from 2018. Released by Lionsgate, directed by Luca Guadagnino, starring Dakota Fanning, Tilda Swinton, and Doria Hick. A darkness swirls at the center of a world-renowned dance company, one that will engulf the artistic director, an ambitious young dancer, and a grieving psychotherapist. Some will succumb to the nightmare, others will finally wake up. And I have not seen this yet. I definitely want to see it. I think it's already out on VOD.
Yeah, it is. I haven't seen it either. Because part of the problem is I wanted to rewatch the original, and I hadn't got a chance to do that before I saw this. And it was in and out of the theaters pretty quickly.
I don't think it ever even played here.
Oh,
Yeah,
really? I mean, I know it played here, but not very.
I'm pretty
long.
sure it never played here because I would have gone and seen it for sure. This one, unfortunately, the disc is a little light. It only has 3 special features, featurettes. The Making of Suspiria, The Secret Language of Dance, and The Transformations of Suspiria. So, still, I definitely want to check that one out.
Oh, yeah.
Next up, All the Colors of the Dark from 1972. This is released by Severin Films, directed by Sergio Martino, starring George Hilton, Edwidge Finch, and Ivan Rassimov. And Brian, this is the one you get to guess on.
Okay.
All the Colors of the Dark. What is that about?
All right. Well, I'm looking at. I'm gonna cheat just a bit and look at some of the special features.
Okay.
There to get a clue.
That's fine.
So I'm thinking, based on some of the special features and the title, I want to say it's a zombie type film, but the main character is blind.
Oh, okay.
How close?
Not at all.
Okay. Damn it! One of these days I'll get one.
This is about a woman recovering from a car accident in which she lost her unborn child, and she finds herself pursued by a coven of devil worshippers.
Oh, see, I was really right there in no way whatsoever. Okay.
So this one has a brand new 4K restoration, complete motion picture soundtrack on a separate CD. That's kind of cool. I always like when they put the soundtracks in there. They're Coming to Get You, an alternate U.S. cut. Color My Nightmare, an interview with director Sergio Martino. Last of the Mohicans, an interview with screenwriter Ernesto Gastaldi. Giallo is the Color, interviews with actor George Hilton and Italian horror expert Antonio Tintori. That sounds cool.
That's a lot of those like horror historian level.
And an audio commentary with Kat Ellinger, author of All the Colors of Sergio Martino. and some trailers. So that's kind of a cool disc, though. I might be interested in that one, actually.
Yeah, well, the reason why when it said they're coming to get you was where I got the zombie thing, and I saw a giallo, and I like put those together. I'm like, the color of the dark. That maybe they're trying to say she can't see, and I
actually would have guessed blind. I think would have definitely guessed that. Next up is Screamers from 1995. This is a Shout Factory release, directed by Christian Duguay.
I think it's Duguay. Because it's spelled the same way as the New York Rangers hockey great Ron Duguay.
You're a sports guy, so you can kind of get some of these.
Yeah.
Starring Peter Weller, RoboCop himself, Roy Dupuis. I don't speak French. Jennifer Rubin. In the year 2078, soldiers attempting to negotiate the end to a long-running war discovered that the robots they built to assassinate enemy combatants have gained sentience and are now plotting against both sides.
You know, I wonder if 2078 will come before the government reopens.
I don't know. This one has a few special features. New Northern Fright. Oh, sorry, new. It's Northern. These are all new, is what they're saying.
The Northern Frights have been there. They're not new.
Northern Frights, an interview with director Christian Duguay. Orchestrating the Future, an interview with producer Tom Barry. More Screamer Than Human, an interview with co-writer Miguel Tejada Flores. And From Runaway to Space, an interview with actress Jennifer Rubin, along with a theatrical trailer. So, now this one sounds interesting. This next one. This one sounds really, really cool. I don't know if I would want to watch it. If that makes any sense, because it's a lot of content. This is called All the Colors of Giallo from 2018, released by Severin. And it's literally 4 hours of Italian horror Giallo trailers. So it has a newly produced feature-length documentary by Federico Cadillo, an interview with John Martin, editor of the Giallo Pages, and audio commentary on every trailer.
Oh my God.
With Kat Ellinger, author of All the Colors of Sergio Martino. That's on disc 1. And now on discs 2.
Yeah, and think about it. That person actually sat through 4 hours of
4 hours of trailers. I didn't know there's that many movies. That's crazy. Disc 2 is a criminal 90-minute trailer compilation, creamy.
So wait, a special feature on this is 90 more minutes
90 more minutes of trailers is a special feature. A creamy, I don't know what that is. Creamy?
What?
The Case of the Creamy? I don't know what that is. The Case of the Creamy. Interview with film historian Marcus Stiglegger.
Hey! It's a film historian.
And then a third disc, which is another 90 minutes of trailers. No, I'm just kidding. It's the Strange Sounds of the Bloodstained Films, a bonus CD of Giallo themes compiled by Alfonso Carrillo of Rendezvous from the archives of Beat Records Company, remastered by Claudio Fulano. Dude, if you like Italian horror, this sounds like an incredible compilation there.
You know what I find odd, though, is that one of the special features not a trailer for this film.
Can you imagine? That would be very meta. Oh, well. Next up is an 80s classic, Splatter University. I'm using classic in the loosest sense of the term. Released by Vinegar Syndrome, directed by Richard Haynes, starring Forbes Riley, Rick Randig, and Dick Beale. A sociology instructor.
What a threesome there of names.
A sociology instructor finds her new teaching duties at a private college interrupted by the presence of a killer mental hospital patient.
Is that not the biggest 80s slasher?
Oh my God, it does. I mean, it sounds like this is like generic 80s slasher 101.
Yeah. It's like those little like refrigerator magnets where you can like make sentences.
That's
out
what
of
it is.
It's like basically this came out of the box of how to make an 80s slasher.
Oh my gosh. It does have some good features though. It has a new 2K restoration from the original 16mm negative, a commentary track with director Richard W. Haynes, a commentary with The Hysteria Continues. I don't know what that is.
What is that? Because I've seen
it's
that.
It's got to be a
that
podcast.
Special feature. Yeah, because I've seen that special feature on a lot of movies.
I imagine it's some kind of podcast. I don't listen to any podcasts other than Civil Gore, though, so I wouldn't know.
Well, there really are none.
An audio interview with composer Christopher Burke, a still gallery theme song, script gallery, radio spots, original trailer, and a TV spot.
I
wonder
what the theme song is like. It's like Splatter University.
Come and knock on our door.
Can you imagine
cassette
the
disc?
That would be great.
You're like, what is this on here? I don't know.
I'm going to slash off him and hers and his. No legs for you. Dun, 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 dun. Okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay, next up, Uninvited from 1988 from Vinegar Syndrome.
Which is what Tim and I will be after someone listens to this episode.
Directed by Graydon Clark, starring George Kennedy. Yay!
Yeah, right.
I love George Kennedy.
Who doesn't?
Alex Cord and Clu Gulager.
Oh, you know him.
I do?
He was in, like the Return of the Living Dead.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah,
Okay.
all right. A sinister corporation loses control of a house cat infected with a genetically engineered virus. The death toll rises during the mutant feline's rampage, and eventually it finds its way on board the yacht of a criminal kingpin. Now, I remember seeing the VHS cover of this one. Like, I can see it in my mind, because I remember the cat on the cover, but... This has a new 4K restoration from the original 35mm negative, a commentary track with director Graydon Clark, an alternate international edit coming in at 93 minutes, That Darn Mutant Cat, an interview with cinematographer Nicholas von Sternberg, an original theatrical trailer and reversible cover artwork. So, George Kennedy fans, snatch that one up. This one, man, this next one, God, it's got more special features than anything else on the list, I think. This one's called There's Nothing Out There from 1991, released by Vinegar Syndrome, directed by Rolf Konevsky, starring Craig Peck, Wendy Bednarz, and Mark Culver. Oh, so there's been a lack of names to make fun of. I have to take them whenever I can get them.
Yeah.
When a horror film buff tries to warn his friends of impending danger during March break, they scoff at him. That is, until sinister things begin to happen. So this has got a crazy list of features here. I've never heard of this movie, I don't think.
I love how they call it March break and that's spring break.
Yeah, that's kind of weird, isn't it? But I guess it...
Again, like that other one. What was the one I saw with it? We watched, remember it had Thanksgiving break?
Yeah.
I watched.
Yeah.
What was that one?
It usually does take place during March, though, so I guess you can call it that if you want to.
Oh, no, fall break. That's what it was. It was fall break.
This one has a brand new 2K restoration. There's a movie out there. New interview with writer-director Rolf Konevsky and editor Victor Konevsky. 40 Years of Cutting. A new interview with Victor Konevsky. New interview with actor Craig Peck. A brand new group commentary with director Rolf Konevsky, Joe Lynch, and Jeff Reddick.
That's the guy. That's Adam Green's buddy, by the way.
Oh,
Joe
okay.
Lynch, the one that does Hollis.
Yeah, right. An archival 20th anniversary commentary with Rolf Konevsky. An archival group commentary with Rolf Konevsky, Victor Konevsky, Craig Peck, Mark Culver, and others. Commentary with The Hysteria Continues again.
There's that other supposed podcast.
Archival interview with Rolf Konevsky. Copycat, a short film about the film's influence. Murder in Winter, an early feature film by Rolf Konevsky. Just Listen, an early short film by Rolf Konevsky. Mood Boobs, a short film by Rolf Konevsky.
I like that.
Behind the Scenes of Mood Boobs. Theatrical trailer, music video, production stills gallery, behind-the-scenes rehearsal footage, pre-production footage and video storyboards, original cast auditions, animation test footage and deleted shots, and reversible.
God, the only thing that's missing is Abbott and Costello.
There's a lot of features on there for a movie I've literally never heard of. I don't know. So
I know, right? Jeez.
And then the final one on our list.
Well, actually, and it contradicts it. It shows there's a lot out there.
Yeah, you're right. The final one on our list is The Moose Head Over the Mantle, from 2017, released by Gravitas Ventures, directed by... this is like an anthology, I guess, because it's directed by Rebecca Comtois, Twitch, I don't know.
I'm gonna leave you alone with this one until you get it.
Brian Ink, Jesse Gatta, Matthew Gray, Shannon K. Hall, and Jane Rose. So a lot of women in there directing this. That seems pretty cool. Starring Jesse Gatta, Nat Cassidy, and Jesse Vanderveer. And just a short synopsis, the 100-year history of a troubled American family. So I'm thinking it's probably an anthology that takes place in different time periods, maybe, with this one family. Sounds kind of a cool premise, though. I like that. Yeah,
actually, that doesn't seem interesting. And I assume it all takes, like, maybe they're telling stories in the room that has the moose head over the mantle.
Yeah. It reminds me of Cracker Barrel. They always have that deer head over the mantle thing.
Oh, yeah.
I used to tell the kids when they wouldn't eat their food, I told them, like, there was cameras in that deer head and, like, the people were watching you. Make sure they had to clean their plate.
Oh, that's awesome.
All right, guys, so let's get to our main feature. This is Don't Look Now from 1973. This was directed by Nicholas Roeg, British director who started as an editor and cinematographer. He did The Man Who Fell to Earth with David Bowie, 1976.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize
Yeah,
that was
and
him. Okay.
another kind of a classic. I've never heard of this movie, but one called Bad Timing from 1980. So he did a couple of. I don't think he did. I think he worked in a lot of television again, just like our director from last week. After these movies, after Bad Timing, I think he kind of went more into the television arena. But this one stars Julie Christie, of course, Donald Sutherland, and Hilary Mason. Probably one of her most famous roles, Hilary Mason. The synopsis is, a married couple grieving the recent death of their young daughter are in Venice when they encounter two elderly sisters, one of whom is psychic and brings a warning from beyond. So, do we want to go through the main characters so we can kind of refer to them as we go?
Yeah.
So,
we decided we were kind of not really organized with
right.
that.
So we tried to be a little more
recently,
more research this time. But Julie Christie plays Laura Baxter, who's the wife in the picture. John Baxter is played by Donald Sutherland. He is actually I guess he's kind of like a restoration guy. He goes in and like restores these ancient churches and stuff.
I thought he was a photographer at first, though. It starts off, it looks like he's a photographer. He's looking at all these like images.
Yeah, but he's apparently in Venice to restore some of these old cathedrals and stuff. Hilary, which is played by Hilary Mason, she's the blind psychic. Really, really creepy role. I mean, one of the creepiest blind performances I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Her sister, Wendy, who is played by Clelia Matania, I guess. I'm guessing of that name. You have Bishop Barbarigo, played by Massimo Serrato, and Inspector Longhi, who's played by Renato Scarpia. So, this is kind of a weird start because we've had two movies in a row that begin with a tragic death of a child. We're not sure. We didn't choose that on purpose, but...
that time I'm going to blame Shudder because they put these two movies on and made a big thing that they were adding this and the Changeling to their repertoire, and it got Tim and I's appetite wet for these two films, not realizing like I didn't know that they both started off this way, and they both have a ball in it. Like
you're right. Yeah, it really is. There's some similarities.
Really, yeah.
This movie begins. So John and Laura are relaxing in their home. John's looking at some pictures and slides of some stained glass windows of the church he's working on. I believe Mary's like just reading a book or something, and we keep cutting. And I tell you what, the director does a brilliant job with the editing in this movie. The editing has been criticized for being kind of ramshackle, but I loved it. I loved how he cut between things and just made this weird, disconnected, uneasy vibe to the whole movie.
Well, and he started as an editor, so that makes sense that he probably filmed it with this intention.
Right. Oh,
to
yeah,
do
definitely.
This way.
So he's cutting back and forth between scenes of John and Laura relaxing in their home and his daughter who's outside playing near a pond. And of course, you get the feeling something bad's getting ready to happen. And there's this kind of brilliant sequence where John spills some water on the slide. And he just has a sudden, almost like a premonition of that something bad is happening. And his daughter falls into the pond. He runs out of the house and as a dad, this was like a heartbreaking scene to watch, but it's really tough to watch.
I can't imagine. Like, I mean, for me it was hard enough, but you with two children, I can't. Like, it's got to be difficult.
But John runs into the pond and pulls his dead daughter out of the pond, and it's very realistic too. I mean, the girl. Props to the girl who played the daughter, because she looked dead when she came out of that water. I swear.
Yeah, and she had like all the whatever the dreck that was at the bottom of the lake, like all over her. She almost kind of reminded me of like when like Jason popped out of the water, with the
and she had that
algae.
She had that dead weight look to her. I mean, she just looked like it was creepy. And by the way, guys, before we even get started any further, do not go any further in this episode unless you've seen this movie, because we will be spoiling it heavily. Right. And this movie, really, you do not want to be spoiled. Like, you want to go watch it.
No, because this builds up in a way that, like, the shock is probably one of the best shocks in horror film history.
So you definitely want to stop the podcast and go watch it first. But but anyway,
and I suggest you do that anyway. It's a fantastic.
Yeah, it's really
film.
really good. So like we said, John's working to restore historic landmarks in Venice. So they are out eating one night when Laura is recognized by a blind psychic and her sister. So John notices these two sisters, which are, and this is a common recurring theme, he keeps noticing these sisters popping up everywhere. But he notices them kind of looking and staring at him in the restaurant, which makes him uneasy.
It made me uneasy just looking at the way they were staring.
Yeah.
It was creepy.
And so Laura goes to the bathroom, and the psychic kind of runs into her in there and basically tells her that she sees her dead daughter. And starts telling Laura all about, she's laughing, she's having the time of her life. It's very, very creepy. But this produces kind of a change in Laura, as we'll see. But anyway, so Laura gets back to the table. She tells John about it, and then she kind of like passes out, right? She like kind of just crashes head first into the table.
I mean, and that's like she like destroys like hundreds of dollars of
I was watching that scene, and I was like, I was trying to think what was going through John's mind. Like, I was thinking like if Olivia went into like a really nice restaurant and then just like fell onto a table and like busted hundreds of dollars of glass, and I was like, well, how would I react? Like, I don't know what I would.
Yeah, like because you obviously, I mean, of course, we are first. Like,
we would make sure our wives are okay, and then we'd be like, oh crap,
yes, we'd
do I
be
have
okay.
to pay for this? I mean,
yeah, and then as soon as I knew she was okay, I'd be like trying to add it up in my head. What this must have cost? Now it's like because like literally she broke every glass. Every plate, oil and vinegar spilling out. Like they went as far to show you everything pour out.
It was like
in slow
motion. It was like one of those infomercials where somebody tries to get something out of the cabinet and like 50 cereal boxes fall on them.
Exactly.
That was her
like,
falling in this restaurant.
Like, yeah, and then you almost expected a guy to come in like a purple suit and go, "Do you have a messy table?"
Oh, but anyway, so they evacuate Laura to the hospital boat, which brings up an important point. Like this truly is Venice. Like just water everywhere. Yeah. Like to get around, you've got to be in water. Like there's a hospital boat, literally.
Yeah, and like they took her out in a chair. Like literally, they just strap her to the dining chair, which now looks like it gets taken to the hospital. So he's probably on the hook for paying for a chair.
God, yeah.
On top of all,
a hospital boat has to be more expensive than an ambulance ride.
Yeah, because because it's like, and it literally is a hospital boat. Like it's like a full of, and it's funny later on. We'll get to it. There's another type of boat, but also, and that maybe brought up the question. I'm watching this. I'm like. So there's no cars here; it's just boats. So the kids in high school have to take like boater's ed, instead. Like, do they like at some point, like when they're 16, like, hey, they're just all like sitting there in like the biggest boat ever that no one will ever drive, and like having to learn how to do it.
But it was cool to see Venice. Like you read about Venice and you see things like there's. I can't think of a movie that features Venice as much as this thing does.
Yeah. And it's like they make it creepy.
Yeah, like it looks really weird and creepy.
Like it looks like there's a lot of scenes throughout this movie. I know we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but there's scenes where you're just like walking in these these places that look like you should not be going there because it's like desolate and looks like no one's been there for like 30 years, Yeah,
there's not really a lot of extras in this movie.
No, they must have filmed Venice when it was closed.
They definitely skip on the extras. But obviously Laura recovers okay. She at one point she decides that she wants to go to a church and pray, which is kind of unlike his wife. So John's seeing a change in his wife since she's talked to this psychic, because she now Laura now firmly believes that her daughter did contact this psychic. And this is a real thing. John is much more skeptical of this. But, he's a good husband. He agrees to go to the church with his wife, and he's kind of like looking around while she does her thing and lights her candles and prays and whatever. He's not having much of it. But he does notice the two sisters in the church and kind of hides from him because he doesn't want to, obviously he doesn't want to cause the whole scene again. From what happened in the restaurant.
Yeah, he doesn't want her to fall over and start tearing down pews.
Yeah, because she falls into a bank of candles. It's going to be a whole different kind of scene.
Yeah, that's just not
But now that brings us to one of probably the most infamous scene of the whole movie, and that is the infamous love scene between Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie.
Yes.
This was long rumored to be real.
Right.
And the reason it was probably rumored to be real is because it does not look like any love scene you've ever seen before.
No, it's very odd, but yet very tame by today's standards.
Yeah. Now at the time, it was very risky because there are some, and I'm not going to get into detail on this podcast because we do try to keep it somewhat family friendly. But there are some sequences that were probably risque for the time.
Right, but it was also like really like because it's clear that they're fully nude in it. There's not like and it just there's a lot of like positions, I guess is the best way to describe it. Odd, awkward. Like it looks like they're playing Twister, but with each other.
Well, that to me is what made it look probably so real because it's not filmed in like the sensual, erotic way that most love scenes are filmed.
No.
It looks awkward and, for lack of a better word, it looks realistic. Because I'm no Romeo, so I'm sure I look probably just like Donald Sutherland in this, like just a tangle of just.
I know, I can imagine what.
Clumsy.
And I'm wondering, like, do I play this like side by side with like, and see if that's what I look like? I don't know. Yeah, and because Donald Sutherland is not exactly like he's kind of like a gangly.
He's very
man,
gangly,
and in this and he's got that weird like curly. Toupee thing going on in there, and on top of it all, you have this music that seems like it should be like in like it's like it's the weirdest music that plays along.
Although I will
with
tell
it.
Brian, Donald Sutherland has a much nicer looking butt than I do, so he's got that going for him.
I guess and it was weird is that because I've only seen Donald Sutherland. I haven't seen Tim, so I don't know.
I can send you a picture after the show, Brian.
Yeah, or if not, I'll just have Julie ask Olivia, because I really don't know how I could ever broach that to Olivia. By the way, do you have a picture of Tim's ass I could borrow? I just need to hold it up to a screen for a second.
This comparison. Oh.
Yeah. Boy, we went wrong. Last season was Kurt Russell's sack, and now it's Tim's ass.
Although, just take my word for it. I promise you. Just take my word for it.
Okay, I'll take your word. But yeah, no, and so it's very like I gotta tell you, he's a very brave man because at one point he's like brushing his teeth with no clothes on. Then he goes out. And then he just goes on with his day.
Well, you remember that Seinfeld episode where they talked about good naked and bad naked? He does a lot of bad naked in this. So
he's like all bad naked, pretty much. Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if there is such thing as Donald Sutherland good naked. I don't know if that's even a
probably
thing.
not.
But
I don't know if that's ever like now Julie Christie though. I mean, she was at the time like considered one of the most beautiful actresses from what I read, and I've always thought she was very attractive. But she's even like in her scene, but before that, she's like sitting in the tub with hardly any water in it, which is weird.
Yeah, there was some there's very weird nakedness in this movie. It's very
because normally like in today's movie that like everyone takes bubble baths, so you usually don't see anything. But here she's like in clear water, just sitting in the tub with hardly any water, so nothing's left to imagination. It's just a very odd sequence in the middle of this movie. That's what I think what it was. And I read that the director, I guess he wanted this scene in there because he said without it felt like they were arguing the whole time. And I don't think that's what I got at it. I don't think they were arguing that much. I mean, they may have been disagreeing, but
I guess he wanted to establish the love between them.
But I still got that anyway. You could tell he. Especially when, like, as we get later on, when you can see Donald Sutherland is very concerned for his wife's whereabouts and safety. He doesn't like her going alone because we find out there's actually like a killer on the loose or something, right?
So, absolutely. So, I think it still goes back to the way the scene was filmed in that most movies today, if they show nudity, it's in an erotic way. And in this one, it's not at all. Like, it's more realistic, like people just walking around the house naked. It doesn't look like anything erotic. It just looks kind of like, So,
it's kind of like the reaction that the housekeeper when she comes in and sees him there sitting at his table. And she's like, oh.
I mean, I would probably do the same thing if I saw a naked Donald Sutherland sitting at my table.
Yeah.
Although we have coined the phrase Don Nude Sutherland for this movie, so.
Yes, we had some others, but now I'm drawing a blank because we got I think we got too much into the meat of this conversation.
We had a very long text conversation with Donald Sutherland naked jokes in it. So I can't remember. I could probably
Yeah.
scroll back through my history, but it was if I don't.
But I will say the title of this movie is ever so appropriate in that scene when Don't Look Now. You know.
I will say I don't want anybody checking my phone conversation history and seeing that.
I know. Can you imagine if you just look at me and Tim's conversation? It goes all across the board. It goes, obviously there's a lot of Civil Gore stuff in there, but we veered off into like.
Anyway, back to the point of this love scene it was famously rumored to be true or real for a long time. Donald Sutherland has denied it. I think a lot of people in the film have denied it. I think it's pretty much debunked at this point. And the other thing I don't think it's real is because, by all accounts, this scene was the first scene filmed in the movie, and Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie had just met that day. So I really find it highly unlikely that they were persuaded to have actual intercourse on film the first day they met. I mean, it just doesn't add up to me. So, and there's nothing in here that makes it look like it necessarily was real. I don't know where it's not that graphic.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, like I said, overall, it's way tame compared to scenes today. But, so I scrolled up and found some. So one of the things we said was we see Donald Sutherland.
Yeah, Donald Sutherland, that's right, yeah.
And Tim referred to his certain area as the Kiefer Keeper. and his Dirty Dozen.
His Dirty Dozens, that's right.
And I had President Snow below.
Oh my gosh. But anyway, yeah. So you see what the puns never stop, even outside of the podcast.
Yes, we are a very punny.
But anyway, so during this love scene, another interesting thing about it is that it cuts between shots of them lovemaking and getting dressed to go out. Which is kind of weird.
Which is in that weird like purple.
Well, again, you can tell this guy's an editor. He loves to edit. They go out on the town, and at one point they hear a scream and see this small red figure dash across the road. Now, it's important to note that their daughter, when she drowned, was wearing a red raincoat-looking thing. I think they call it a mac.
Or in our group, a mock.
Yeah.
No,
you would call it. We would call it a raincoat, probably.
Right, or
a slicker. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they see something that looks very much like that running across, and Laura runs across this is the following day. John is putting a gargoyle up on the cathedral that he's restoring, and Laura runs across the psychic and her sister again, and John notices this, and again he's kind of perturbed because he doesn't really like them feeding into this fantasy that Laura has taken hold of.
Well, because you get like a little hint of it. I think you find out more of it later on, but like she was not well.
Right. She was on medication. Yeah, she was on medication. So he's very protective of, her mental state, let's say.
Right. Which is where that's where I like where the director's worried. Like, I think he did a great job of showing how much they loved each other because, they were still together with all of this tragedy and still, still a team. You could tell they were grieving together and they were trying to get through their life together. So.
But anyway, she so Laura gets with the psychic and basically asks if possibly she can get in touch with her daughter again. The psychic kind of reluctantly agrees, and they go back to the psychic's house for tea and to channel Christine, who's the daughter, and she channels all right. She has what is I guess we called it a psychic orgasm is basically what it looked like.
Yeah, which is probably more erotic than the
it probably is.
the whole scene.
So the psychic basically has this almost seizure type fit, and John at this point he gets so concerned he tries to track Laura down, but I guess he gets chased off by these two neighbors. I guess for looking suspicious. I don't know.
That's the part I didn't quite get what was going on because. Did you notice something? There were no subtitles.
That's right. Yeah, that's true. It was
so they speak Italian, and you're just supposed to get it. What they're yelling.
Yeah, John tries to find the psychics or tries to go to the apartment or whatever, but he gets kind of chased off by the neighbors. But anyway, the psychic gets in touch with the daughter and says that Christine is warning her parents to leave Venice.
Right.
And John, of course, is having none of this. He refuses to believe this crap about the psychic and their daughter, and he's kind of like, our daughter is dead. You need to just accept that and move on, kind of thing. And this is, again, Brian, this is where we find out that Laura took medication at one point, but she has not been taking it recently. And John's kind of like, you need to take your pills again. because you're getting this is getting
you're
out of
getting,
hand.
You're getting loopy now or something,
right?
As he puts it, he doesn't. Yeah.
And so then we get this kind of a turning point in the movie at this stage. John receives a call in the middle of the night that his son Johnny, which I didn't even really think about because they did show a boy early on.
Yeah, he was there. I didn't. Yeah, but you don't. It doesn't.
But you never don't really notice him.
You don't know if it's a friend or a son. Really, I don't think at that. I mean, I think they might mention something about boarding school early on, but it's very subtle. Like it's like you don't need to know it really so much.
Yeah, like when he first called, I was like, oh wait, he has a son. But yeah, he has a son Johnny who's back in a boarding school in the UK, and they received a call that Johnny had an accident, not a major accident, but I think he bumped his head or fell or something.
Yeah.
So Laura realizes that she has to get back to the UK to check on Johnny, and she kind of takes this as proof that the psychic was correct,
right?
That they are in danger and they needed to leave Venice or whatever. So she returns to the UK. John stays behind, and as he's working in the church or cathedral, whatever it was, he's working on a mosaic, and the Reverend presents him with some of the mosaic tiles that they're going to use to restore the mosaic, and it's way high up, and I mean it's got to be the most rickety scaffolding I've ever seen.
Even like the people that are supposed to do the job don't seem to want to do it.
Yeah, like this definitely did not have OSHA regulation written all over it by any stretch of the imagination. But he decides to go up and kind of compare the mosaic tiles to the originals, and so he gets up on this crazy. I mean, he's like climbing with no safety, nothing.
No hat, even no hard hat,
nothing. He's climbing up this scaffolding. Then he has to cross over to like one of those window washer platforms. I don't know what you call that thing. And he gets on that, and all of a sudden there's a horrible accident. There's a piece of wood that looks like falls through and busts and like knocks the whole contraption over. So John is like hanging off of this thing by a rope. Like, what is like 2 or 3 stories in the air?
Yeah, and there's some really good shots of how high he is. Like from above him.
It's a really tense sequence because you're like, you don't know what the heck's going on. And it stretches on for a long time, it seems like.
Yeah, and he keeps like swinging to try and get closer, and he's making these weird sounds like, yeah.
And the guy's like poking him with a pole to try to get him to swing closer.
That guy's kind of funny. He's like just like reaching out for him, and he's like, I guess it shows it's just lanky Donald Sutherland continues in anything he does, but he's like trying to swing his feet over to the platform nearby where the guy is trying to hook him. So now
I think I remember in the trivia, and I might be wrong, but I think he actually almost got hurt.
Yeah, no, they did. Well, I remember that. I almost put it down in our trivia. Basically the stuntman didn't want to do it. So Donald Sutherland ended up, because I guess there was no, like the insurance claims weren't filed right. So, but they couldn't lose the scene. So Donald Sutherland did it. And the guy said, he was basically like, if he would have not reached on that rope, the rope would have snapped or something. So like basically whatever he did was the most unsafe way to do it, is the way it was implied. So it's like he really was kind of in danger at that point, you know, whether they knew it at the time or not, or, or the stuntman was just being a kind of a pain. But
so anyway, this accident kind of rattles John because now he's had 2 incidents, his son having the accident and now this incident, and he kind of feels like, well, maybe the psychic's right or something. I don't know. It's kind of gets into his head. So he's walking with the priest after the accident happens, and they kind of happen across police pulling this dead woman from the canal. And there's some brilliant edits here where they flash back and forth between the woman getting pulled from the canal and his dead daughter. Coming out of the pond is really creepy. You could tell that's what's going through his mind. I think earlier on when he was with his wife, they saw police looking for a body.
Yeah, they did, and he was like, he didn't want to look towards it or something.
Yeah.
He didn't want to he didn't want her to look either or something. Yeah.
But they actually pull this body out of the canal, and that's when you know there's a killer on the loose, obviously, somewhere.
Yeah, because I think the bishop says, "Oh, I hope it's not another murder or something."
Right. Yeah. Now there's a very interesting scene coming up here. John's on a boat. Now remember, Laura's in the UK,
right?
As far as we know, and he looks at a passing boat, and he sees Laura on the boat with the psychic and her sister.
Yeah, which is a very creepy looking scene.
Yeah, very, very creepy. And, of course, he's shouting at her, Laura, Laura, like, what are you doing back in the UK?
Yeah.
He goes back to their apartment. He doesn't, I guess it's a hotel or apartment or something.
They're closing. The guy was, like, trying to say he has to leave.
Yeah,
I don't understand.
I
That
didn't
part,
quite get that where they were living, their living arrangements, but he can't find her. Like he can't find her, so he kind of goes to the police and says, "Hey, look, my wife was in the UK. My son had an accident. She's still supposed to be over there, but now she's missing."
Yeah, because he saw her. He's like, I saw her.
Yeah, he's like, I saw her. Now the police investigator, he's a real prick in this movie.
Yeah,
but he's automatically suspicious of John because of the murders that have been happening. Obviously, oh, your wife's missing now. Okay,
yeah, they're on edge. Basically, the whole
area's
on edge.
So so the police chief has John followed just to keep an eye on him, and John spots the small red figure again in the city. The little red raincoat figure. And then he finally does what he should have done in the first place. He just goes and gets in touch with her over the phone. Laura.
Yeah, I was wondering why he never did that. But
I was like, why didn't you go to try to call her first and then go report her to the police?
I think he's just more stunned. He's a lot's going through, I guess, his head right now. He just seen the murder, and then he sees then he sees his wife, who he's not expecting to see, and he knows she's unwell, and the fact that he sees her with the psychics, I think, is what makes him probably rattle his good senses.
Yeah. But so he finally gets in touch with Laura. She claims she's still in the UK and she's heading back. John, was it Johnny? I just missed his name again. Their son is fine, and so John is a little skeptical, I guess, because he knows he saw her,
right?
But he accepts her word for it that she's coming back. And of course he does the responsible thing. He goes back to the police and says, "Hey, I've talked to my wife. Everything's good." But then he realizes that Heather, who is the psychic, has been brought in for questioning.
Right.
Now,
yeah.
Which he feels terrible about. This is a very strange scene. Heather has another one of those crazy psychic seizure fits or whatever. And John kind of just gets the hell out of there. I think it's freaked him out. He just kind of gets the heck out of there. But the psychic, after he leaves, is she begs her sister, chase him down and warn him, bring him back, tell him. And so she finally concedes. She goes after John and runs into Laura, who's back now. But she couldn't find John. So now Laura runs after him. And so John's running all through the streets of Venice and sees the red figure again. So, and obviously he thinks it's a child. Yeah. It's the size of a child. It looks like his dead daughter. So he runs and gives chase. And Brian, this scene, and I don't know what it is about. It's like the end of Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah.
I was so drawn into this movie the first time I saw it that this next scene scared the living crap out of me. And I don't know why. I guess it was just so unexpected.
Yeah.
I was so drawn in. I don't know how I want to hear what your impressions were when because this is your first time.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I knew, I kind of knew it was not going to be his daughter, but I wasn't sure what it was going to be. I didn't know if it was going to be some kind of, because at that point you're not sure what. It's funny, even with all the brilliance of this movie leading up to this point, you're not sure where it's going to go. So, I think you expect it to be some other type of twist or something, but instead, should I say what happens? I guess at this point, right?
We were going to go all in.
So, and the funny thing is, he does all these little maneuvers that just are poor decisions. Is he locks himself into this enclosed area with the red cloaked figure, so basically then you got Laura chasing him, and someone else, I guess, was it the inspector or something? Someone else was kind of chasing, and they go to get and they're trying to get, but he's locked them out. So he's basically in there in this enclosed sewer area, I guess, with the cloaked figure, and it turns around and it's just jarring close up of a dwarf.
Like a female dwarf. It's
but
really
creepy
weird.
as can be, which isn't bad enough. And just in this quick motion, she just swings swings a knife at him and just slices his neck. And it's something. It's like the editing again. Yeah, you got to give credit for it, because it's almost like this jump cut kind of a maneuver, and it's a very jarring, rough slice of a thing. It's not like effect wise, it was probably the cheapest way to do this effect, but it was more effective than probably say 95% of slasher movies in terms of the impact of the slice like that. And and then he's just leading there, and he's like laying there bloody, and just his whole life like flashes before him, and you really get the realization, like now the audience, you're still trying to recover from the shock of this creepy dwarf thing, but then you kind of get this whole thing that Donald Sutherland was realizing if he just listened this whole time, he saw this whole life, he saw the warnings, and then you realize that it was his own vision of because you find that out after that vision that where he thought he saw Laura and the twins was a future.
Yeah, he was seeing his
thing.
own funeral procession.
Yeah, it was on a funeral boat. That's what I was going to say. We're getting to other types of boats they had there. They considered this a funeral boat now. And so I guess it's like the equivalent of a hearse. And I guess they're floating on there, and that's why she was serene and why neither of the people answered him when he was calling them. So it's really creepy, and you go back to that, almost like that's the Sixth Sense reveal, like you're like, kind of. Yeah. But in a much horrible way. Like, I tell you, though, that may be some of... I have to say, I mean, I guess it counts as a jump scare. It's a little, it's a little non-traditional jump scare.
Shocking. It's just shocking.
More shocking, yeah. But I will go on record to say it's probably one of the most frightening few seconds in horror films out there.
I mean, it completely... Maybe I had just been lulled into this film.
That's what it is. I think that's what it does.
Me.
Yeah.
I had no clue it was coming, and it freaked me out the first time I saw it.
Because it basically takes this movie, this slow burn of a mystery kind of. You're not sure what's going on. Is it a paranormal? Is it a ghost? Is it this? And it literally turns out to be like a character that has really nothing to do with anything going on.
It's just it's completely out of left field, and it doesn't look like a normal person. Like it's a really freakishly looking dwarf face. So
it looks like something like was drawn or sketched and put into life. It was.
I don't know. I'd like to read the story. This was based off a short story. I'd like to read the short story just to kind of maybe get some insight as to what was going on here. But we end the movie with John's funeral procession, where we kind of realize that it's just his funeral procession. But if you listen to our plot points as we spelled it out, it sounds like not a whole lot happens in this movie. It sounds like, okay, all right, they go out to eat, they see this figure, this, that, the second. But this movie is just, trust me, is way more than the sum of its parts. Like, it's the atmosphere. And on the second viewing, I loved it even more because you start to realize how cool the editing is. You start to realize that the red motif of the red coat comes up everywhere. Laura's got red boots on. She's got a red purse. You'll see a red notebook laying on the bed. You'll see...
Well, right from the beginning when he spills the alcohol on the photo and it turns into blood red. I mean, there's a lot of red.
There's a neighbor that chases John off that's in a red robe.
Oh, yeah.
You'll catch bystanders in the background, one of which will have like a bright red thing on. Even though it's not the dwarf, it's just a person. But that you see these red pop up everywhere. And you start to see like how complex this film really is underneath the surface, and there's a lot of time shifting stuff in here. Just like we said, John sees his wife, but that's the future. And it jumps around and plays with time. It's just a really, really cool movie.
Yeah, and it's like, it's that now that you said that, it kind of reminds me a little bit of The Sixth Sense in that way too, where they used the red motif where Bruce Willis couldn't go. But like, when you see it, like, but that's a common thing. But again, it's funny when you do these older films, way like after its release, you wonder, well, was that the first or was that one of the earliest versions of it, and it's like, so it's really great how like, when you after you see it and you go back, probably find so many clues that could have just totally predicted what was going on, like the fact that they, like, when you think about it, when they, they're great at the misdirection, because at one point, when they see the murderer pulled out and they say, he's like, oh, I hope it's not a murder. I literally thought they were showing the murder just as to give him another reason why to be nervous that his wife was missing. And I thought that was the end of it. That's it. Like, this murderer has no other plot point in it other than that little section. And, and then maybe, obviously, to pull him in, like I said, oh, maybe he'll get framed for it. But basically, the last thing I expected was that he was going to get actually caught up in the actual murder plot.
Right. And if you look at the character arc, there's no resolution here. You think, well, okay, so like in a normal movie, like, okay, now we find out the psychic was a fraud, or now we find out that, I know it's a horror film, but, usually there's some kind of upbeat something. In this one, there's nothing. It's basically this gloom and doom where this poor couple loses this child, and then they go to Venice, and all this bad stuff happens, and then the guy gets murdered. I mean, it's really a downer of a movie, but it's so atmospheric. It's just, I don't know. I loved it. I thought it was super, super cool.
Yeah, and Donald Sutherland's so good because you could tell he's like literally regretting, as he's going through his life, regretting that if he just would have listened.
Yeah.
They were, and the fact that his most tragic moment was his daughter drowning, that she basically did come back and kind of through the psychic warn her parents, get out of there.
Yeah.
I know what's coming. Get out. It's like.
Now, we're going to do the points thing after the trivia, Brian, because we got a little new thing we're trying out. Some of the trivia that's kind of cool. Donald Sutherland so enjoyed working with this director that he named his son Roeg after Nicholas Roeg. It was one of his favorite collaborators. Yeah. So that's kind of cool. We already talked about the sex scene.
Yeah.
In the UK, the film was released to theaters on a double feature with The Wicker Man. Would you love to go back in time?
Of course.
Yeah, the original, not the Nick Cage version.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you love to go back in time and like just go to the UK and watch a double feature of this?
Oh my God, yeah, that
How
really
awesome
would
is
be
that?
cool.
This film was not received well by Venetians because they were afraid it would scare away tourists, and God, now I know why.
Oh yeah, I was like, I've always wanted to go to Venice. Not so much now.
Not so much now.
Especially until I find out about this whole boater's ed thing, because I don't want a lot of crazy kids driving around boats.
I wonder if their boats all drive on the wrong side of the canal. I don't know.
All right. Well, do you think they have like Google? Maybe they have Google Boat now that will do it at some.
The film's German title is Wenn die Gondeln Trauer tragen, which means when gondolas wear grief.
Which basically is like refers to one scene, but that's so influential.
That's a great title, yeah.
Yeah.
And this film was not as well received at the time, but has become really a classic. The British Film Institute ranked Don't Look Now as number 8 on their list of the top 100 British films. I mean, that's high praise indeed for a horror movie.
Yeah.
And the Times also ranked the film number 18 on their list of 100 greatest films. So if you're like me, I didn't even really know about this movie until last year when I first watched it. If you listen to this episode, you've already been spoiled on it, so we warned you. But this one is a phenomenal movie. It's really, really good. Yeah,
and it's funny. I've heard about it only because of the obviously infamous sex scene here. I heard about it before, like I even knew what this movie was. I didn't even know it was a horror movie when they originally said it, because I don't know what it was like. I think it started with one of those, was it like Zergnet? Those wormholes you can go down in the internet where it's like, it started, I think I literally started off with something like top 10 things that you want to see in, like, I don't know, it was like, I think Infinity War, or no, not, but like something like that. It was years ago, but it was like one of those things. And then it kept linking me to these top 10 lists or like most things on, like, horrible sex scenes on films or something. It was like one of those, and I eventually, and this would have come up on it. Don't Look Now with Donald Sutherland and Julia. I was like, what is this about? I had no clue it was a horror film until years later. So
so go check this one out. This is an awesome movie. I might have to get this one on Blu-ray.
It's, by the way, I was gonna say I looked it up already. You can get it on Amazon. It's $23.99 for the Criterion, and Best Buy is $22.99. So you can save $1 at Best Buy. So I think I'm going to order it this week, actually.
Yeah.
At that price for a Criterion, and it's normally like $40. It's one of those $40 discs.
Oh, yeah.
So you may want to jump on it now, while it's that low.
So as I alluded to just a little bit earlier, Brian and I are trying something a little new for these films, kind of in the Joe Bob tradition of when he runs down all the different kills. This is more of like a point system. So we're going to give films points for things we liked and take away points, subtract points for things we didn't like. So I'll let you go first, Brian.
Yeah, so I had add points for having a starring actor named Massimo, because I like that name. There's actually a cool good chef in our apartment complex named Massimo. So I always like that name anyway. Massimo is cool.
I probably butchered it when I first read it, but that's okay.
No, I think you actually got it right, I think.
I gave points for Donald Sutherland's curly top toupee. I mean, he's got a full-on perm in this movie. It's really cool.
Yeah. And then I gave him points to kind of go onto this because he also had that one outfit that, in conjunction with that curly top thing, he kind of looked like the classic Doctor Who. Remember?
Yeah, the Tom Baker version.
Yes,
for sure,
that was it. I couldn't remember his name. Yes, Tom Baker version of Doctor Who.
I think we have to subtract points for the bad naked in this movie with the teeth brushing and the painting. Teeth brushing, okay, you're already in the bathroom. I can see it, but you just don't paint in the nude.
Yeah.
Not unless you're like body painting, then maybe it's okay.
Yeah, then that's a whole other thing. That's okay. That's acceptable. But yeah, just don't go do your job in the nude.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like Tim and I go to work, like, sans clothing.
No.
So neither should Donald Sutherland. And then there was subtract a point for the blind psychic orgasm, as we like to put, because that lady was, like I said, she's like fondling her boobs and like,
it was not a pretty sight.
Really, no, and plus because she's got those fake eyeballs in there, that like gray eyes, make her look super creepy. That's just not a good combination in any way.
Oh, but anyway, awesome movie. So check that one out. It definitely gets more points than we subtract.
Oh yeah, so. No, this is more of just a little fun thing.
Yeah,
just to make it funny.
All right, Brian, what'd you have for the beer pairing? I can't wait to hear what this one is this week.
Okay, so this one actually was a tough one. I obviously was going to go with to fit the theme of the movie, get an Italian beer.
Okay.
I don't know much about them other than the Peroni, like those guys, but I wanted to get something that really represented the film on top of just being from Italian. I actually found one this is perfect. It's called Amber Shock. And it has a tagline, "The Unpredictable."
Oh my gosh, so that sums up this movie,
right? It's great, right? So it's the brewery is Birrificio Italiano from Como, Italia. It's 7% ABV, and I'm gonna read this description, which is just as weird as this movie at some points. This is as weird as this beer pairing. So it says, "This is how you celebrate. A convivial beer endowed with a huge inebriating abilities. Amber Shock is a pendulum perpetually swinging between the pleasures of seduction and those of Russian roulette. It's really easy. In fact, you linger too long in the hypnotic sweetness of its company for one to lose touch with time and space, to forget one's own home waiting," and then in parentheses says always far and farther, "and to wake up the following day somewhat guilt-tripping in weird conditions and places." Then it goes on. If that wasn't weird enough, it continues. It says, "On exotic shores, with a surfboard under one armpit, in unknown or makeshift beds, or strolling through cities we would never imagine to visit, you ought to be careful with those like her. But let's be honest. It's also the fact that she might bend us to her mercy to make the whole thing exciting." That's got to be the most obscure beer description we've had.
That's crazy.
And then just a little final note. It says, "Color is deep amber, vaguely brown froth, sometimes a bit hazy due to suspended yeasts."
Wow, that's very descriptive.
Yeah, this was a good one. So fit the movie well, I thought.
Yeah, that's a great one, actually.
Yeah.
So our triple threat this week. Last week, I'll read the clues and we'll give you the answers. I thought last week was kind of a medium difficulty. I would say a medium difficulty.
Yeah, I think if you really look at the clues and the hints, the way we told you to get them. But we didn't hear from Cody this weekend, so I wonder if she just either gave up on the game altogether,
I don't know,
out of anger towards us about these, or she's still trying to figure it out. So,
all right. So clue 1: I was played by 2 different actors or actresses in the same film. Clue 2: the person who played me, their real last name may be considered a continental one. And clue 3, I don't particularly like water, nor would I like a cruise. So clue 1, played by 2 different actors or actresses in the same film. Tina Shepard from Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood, was played by both Jennifer Banco and Lar Park Lincoln in Friday the 13th Part 7. And the reference to a continental last name, Lar Park Lincoln, i.e. Lincoln Continental. Kind of a pun there. And then this one is definitely a pun that you probably didn't pick up on. I don't particularly like water, nor do I like a cruise. Cruise spelled Crews. Tina accidentally killed her dad on the lake and does not like Dr. Cruz. So that's what the clues were. A little tricky there, but I don't think that one is quite as hard as our first week.
No,
and I think this week we've toned it down even more for you. This is a little bit easier this week, so I think you'll have a good shot at getting this one.
Yeah, because this is a little more straightforward on the trivia.
Yeah, this one's a little more straightforward. So here we go. This week's triple threat. This is an actor or actress, is who we're looking for. Clue 1: My first major role proved I was ready for prime time. Clue 2. I have been nominated for an Oscar, a Grammy, and 3 times a Golden Globe while winning 2. And Clue 3. I have worked with iconic horror directors Alfred Hitchcock, Tobe Hooper, and Rob Zombie. So an actor or actress.
Yes,
I
I think that's a good one.
I think that's a good one. That one's doable for sure.
Yeah, I think if you really like put the pieces together, you can probably find that one out.
All right, guys. Well, that's it. We'll do it for this week, and we'll be back next week with part 2 of our 2019 preview. I think we are doing what, Brian? We're doing books and
As a game,
games.
Video games.
Yeah, video games. Books and video
yes.
games. So we're looking forward to that one. And, of course, we'll be back with another movie. And
Yes.
we'll see you back here next week. Stay away from those red rain-coated dwarves.
Yes, etc.
Sorry, I screwed that up. All right,
The last
I keep doing that.
It says a serial killer preys on a mystical. Oh my god! I'm with Tim here. Okay, start over there.